licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, how you doing? It's a back-to-work Monday, my little buddy.
Back to work, back at it, Crudy, doing fantastic. Had a wonderful weekend. Thank you, Fancy Brian, on the board, our fair audience. A pleasure to be with all of you once again.
Well, I'd like to thank the Friday crew, those of us that actually worked on Friday. Thank you to Evan for filling in for Fancy Brian. Thank you to the Mad Dog, Mackie Dawn, filled in admirably for you. I think we were better, really, quite frankly.
I think so. I think Megan should take every Friday show from now on.
Dominic, she was the right guest for the moment. We had Derek Chauvin sentencing, and we played it live on Friday, and we had the legal eagle that she is, Attorney Maggie Dawn, had her here by my side to react in real time. And then she took some pot shots at the Attorney General of the great state of Wisconsin. I didn't even see that coming. But Maggie Dawn, a fine radio companion. And then she and I went to the bowling alley and had a couple. So
excellent.
Had a great day, all things considered. Thank you to both her and Evan for doing the work that Dom and Brian just quite frankly weren't willing to do. And tomorrow, Dom, we're going back to work tomorrow as well. Joe Biden going to our alma mater, or at least going to the location of our alma mater. And if Joe Biden's come to our backyard and our alma mater, man, we got to go party on 3rd Street, do we not?
Crudy, what else could we possibly do? The president showing up in La Crosse, Wisconsin, once again, hasn't been there, 2012, I think was last time.
We were at that event.
He was there, and you and I were there as well.
We were at a bar.
That'll have the Eagles now. It's outside of Mitchell Hall. And we saw the vice president out talking to students like a half hour after he was supposed to be on stage. So, those things happen. But it's been a long time coming. Look forward to it. 3rd Street, our pal Rudy over at Shooter's Bar on 3rd Street. We're going to broadcast live there tomorrow. It's going to be a party, a homecoming, perhaps, Gertie.
I'm staying in school.
The Tuesday back to school edition. Hopefully we'll get respect from the audience of all sorts, man. Tune in tomorrow's special event. Joe Biden, we don't know exactly what his itinerary is, but we will be at a bar.
We know where we'll be at.
On perhaps one of the most famous party and strips in the entire world, Tom. La Crosse, they're not really the amateurs. That is really the professionals. I believe at one point it had the highest number of bars per capita of any location, either in the nation or the world. And seeing that the great state of Wisconsin has 12 of the top 20 drunkest cities in America, La Crosse amongst them, I would say we're going to have a hell of a good time. We're going to take you with. We're doing our broadcast live from Shooter's Bar in La Crosse. So that's to be looked forward to.
Absolutely.
Everybody's doing it.
And we'll see what happens. If it's available, we will also perhaps carry the president's remarks live, but they haven't released an itinerary yet, so we don't know what the hell's going on.
They're not jamming him in some sort of stadium rally event. Apparently he's supposed to go visit a farm. He's bringing Tom Vilsack. Vilsack's the former governor of the state of Iowa and the agricultural secretary. Vilsack will be his traveling companion. And I assume La Crosse, because it's the only place in southwestern Wisconsin with a runway big enough to accommodate Air Force One. So from there, presumably they're taking Joe out to some farm somewhere, rural southwestern Wisconsin. We'd go with if they tell us where. If they encouraged us to come with, probably. Don't have to leave La Crosse.
Well, I mean, I can only suggest, perhaps, Mr.
farm.
President, go to a dairy farm. I used to work on a dairy farm, Curdy.
I
You're a
recall
lion, dog face, pony soldier.
I
No, it's
recall
true.
you saying something of the effect. But right on 3rd Street in La Crosse. Now, technically, I guess Joe Biden's not a drinker. I didn't know that about the president. They talked about the beer summit, but I don't think Joe drinks beer.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're
Time to
gonna
be an adult. You're president.
Yeah.
we're gonna be at a bar. If Joe comes strolling in, what? He's not gonna drink a
Well, I'll give him a beer.
cold Wisconsin favorite of some
You
sort.
can have a lemonade and iced tea if he wants. It doesn't
Do I
matter,
look
man.
like a socialist?
No, he doesn't take that socialist beer. Would Joe Biden drink a Biden beer? I mean, that's really the question.
If handed a Biden beer, well, I think we might still have one Biden beer. We might have to swing by the camper. I got some Biden beer at the camper. So we'll work it out. Or Kirk Bangstead from Minocqua Brewing Company, bring us a Biden beer. And if we bump into Joe, we'll offer him a 6-pack of his namesake. Tammy Baldwin took Kamala beer to a dinner party of female U.S. senators being hosted by the vice president, Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
So she got her namesake beer, and that's the good stuff. That's the 9.5% stuff.
Ooh.
You don't mess around with that Kamala beer.
Don't mess around, Kamala.
Do not mess around. So that's tomorrow, Dom. But
Awesome.
today, we got a big show today. We got John Nichols, Wisconsin's own From the Nation, the National Affairs something.
National Affairs correspondent from the Nation, John Nichols, our friend.
Thanks for cleaning that up, the titles and all. But beyond that, we got Batman, Matt Rothschild, the executive director of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. He's going to come later in the 4:00 happy hour. And also Michael Johnson, the executive director of Boys and Girls Club of Dane County. Michael Johnson, a friend of ours. They got the big Keep It Moving event coming up on July 17th. We're going to check in. And they got a new event they just announced. So lots to talk about with Michael Johnson and the audience as well at 844-967-2789. But Dom, some troubling headlines over the course of the weekend for the former president.
Yeah.
He did something of a pity party rally in Ohio and sort of 90 minutes of grievances, like the good old days.
Yeah, it's the good old days, man. Just like 2020.
My understanding, the crowd started seeing their ways to the exit a little bit early. They left a little early. Trump not as captivating.
Oh, really?
Some of them,
all the greatest hits, they didn't rub off as well as they did, last year.
There was
People
no
are
encore.
flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times.
I'm not sure if he played that one, but Dominic, and also some new books out, and there's going to be lots of new books out about the Trump presidency. But Michael Wolff's had some compelling books in the past, and he has written a new book, and there are now excerpts being spread around. You, of course, remember his first book, Fire and Fury. And then he wrote another book, and now a third book, a sequel, Siege. Well, I guess that was the second book. What's the third book called? Anyways, not important. We've got excerpts of the book from The Guardian. Then once you get us started.
We'll jump into the piece here. On January 6th, Congress met to confirm results of an election Trump lost conclusively, writes The Guardian, to Joe Biden. Trump spoke to supporters outside the White House, telling them, "We're going to walk down to the Capitol to protest. I'll be there with you." Now, according to Wolff, the chief of staff, Mark Meadows, was reportedly approached by concerned Secret Service agents who he told, "No, there's no way we're going to the Capitol." Wolff, one of a number of authors to have interviewed Trump since he left power, writes that the chief of staff then approached Trump, who seemed unsure what Meadows was talking about. "You said you were going to march with them to the Capitol," Meadows reportedly said. "How would we do that? We can't organize that. We can't." "I didn't mean it literally," Trump reportedly replied. Trump is also reported to have expressed puzzlement, I tell you, Crudy, about the supporters who broke into the Capitol in a riot which led to 5 deaths and Trump's second impeachment for inciting an insurrection. Wolff said Trump was confused by who these people were with their low-rent trailer camp bearing and their get-ups, once joking that he should have invested in a chain of tattoo parlors and shaking his head about the great unwashed.
I have no idea.
Now,
He had
that's-
no idea that his party is now made up of essentially of white trash, Dom.
That's the populist president? I mean, what did he think he was? Who did he think he was inspiring? Who did he think he was inciting? What did you think was going to happen, Crudy?
I'm not at all clear, Dom. And I don't mean to cast aspersions on the white trash amongst us. I got in-laws, but I'm just saying, do you think Trump didn't realize that this is who his people were? Do you think he didn't realize? Do you think he was truly puzzled when he looked around and he watched the video? Apparently he was in glee early on. He was in glee, but somewhere during the course of the day, it dawned upon him, oh, this might be bad.
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
And who are these people? I've got more of the excerpts of the new Michael Wolff book. Again, I'm going to be redundant, Don, but I think it bears repeating. Wolff says Trump was confused by who these people were with their low-rent trailer camp bearings and their get-ups. Once joking, he should have invested in a chain of tattoo parlors, and shaking his head about the great unwashed. I know you read it, but I want to read it again just for effect.
It's worth emphasizing, putting a point on it.
Trump and his family watched the attack on television at the White House. As reported by Wolff, the exchange between Trump and Meadows sheds light on how the would-be insurrectionists were abandoned. A little bit later, Trump aide Jason Miller is portrayed as saying, oh, guano, and alerting the president's lawyer and chief cheerleading for his lie about the electoral fraud Rudy Giuliani. Wolff writes that the former New York mayor was drinking heavily and in a constant state of excitation, almost incoherent in his agitation and mania.
So that's pretty regular for Rudy these days.
As the riot escalated, soon after Trump issued a tweet attacking the vice president, aides reportedly pressed the president to command his followers to stand down. Ivanka Trump said, it's an optics issue. After an hour or so, Wolff writes, Trump seemed to begin the transition from seeing the mob as people protesting the election, defending him so he would defend them, to seeing them as not our people. In a further exchange, Trump reportedly asked Meadows, how bad is this? This looks terrible. This is really bad. Who are these people? These aren't our people. These idiots with these outfits, they look like Democrats. Come back, more devils. It's Monday. Get back to work.
Do not go gently to that good night.
Don't talk to me that way.
Rage. Rage against the dying of the light.
I don't want to create a panic.
Say it! But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council. President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join Move On's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
The former president, the fact that he needed to drop a press release to call the horse a junkie.
The horse came from a broken home. I heard he was sold for like $1,000. Was born on a dirt patch. Then the pressure, the constant, the training over and over. I mean, really not getting to have a normal childhood and grow up and hang out with their other little horsey friends. Then one of those days, walked down the wrong alley and first one's free. And after that, it was all downhill from there.
Dom, that's why they call it horse.
Listen to Devil's Advocates weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm gonna have fun, and you're gonna have fun. We're all gonna have so much fucking fun. We'll need plastic surgery to remove our damn smiles.
Just can't
You'll be
wait to
whistling
get
Symphony
on
Doo
the road
out of your
again.
assholes.
The life I love is making music.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. On the road again tomorrow, going to the great city of La Crosse, Wisconsin. President Joe Biden coming to our fair state for some reason or another, and we're going to make a party out of it. So make sure you join us tomorrow. In the meantime, our phone number for today, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, we're going to have so much fun. A little bit more. I hate to not fully quote Trump.
Yes.
I hope I'm never accused of quoting the man out of context. So here is the conclusion of the Guardian piece. Ran out of time in the last segment. Again, I'm going to be redundant just briefly. Ivanka Trump, the president's daughter and advisor, reportedly saw the assault on the Capitol as an optics issue.
Is that what it was?
After an hour or so, Wolf writes, Trump seemed to begin the transition from seeing the mob as people protesting the election, defending him so he would defend them, to seeing them as not our people. In a further exchange, Trump reportedly asked Meadows, again his chief of staff, how bad is this? This looks terrible. This is really bad. Who are these people? These aren't our people. These are idiots with these outfits. They look like Democrats. Trump reportedly added, now this is the part I excluded prior, Dom. We didn't tell people to do something like this. We told people to be peaceful. I even said peaceful and patriotic in my speech. So, obviously he wasn't trying to incite them, Dom, because he said peaceful.
We're like the stupid people.
I mean, if that's true, it's certainly an oh crap moment for the president, because you can tell he's trying to cover his tracks. Hey, I said peaceful. I said patriotic.
An oh crap moment, does it take 4 hours to creep up on you? I mean, because he's watching this happen in real time. And people are chanting, hang Mike Pence.
And McCarthy, right? Kevin McCarthy, the Republican, calls him and says, and Trump reiterates. So in some ways, this kind of reinforces that the reporting here from the book, that from Wolf, because Trump told McCarthy, oh, these aren't our people. These are like Democrats. McCarthy, no, these are your people. These are your supporters. Call them off. And then Trump transitioned to, of course, well, perhaps they're more upset about the election than you were, Kevin. 844-967-2789. Let's get to some callers. We have our friend John Nichols, national affairs correspondent from The Nation magazine, hitting us up at the bottom of the hour. Andy from Beaver Dam, you are first today. Welcome, Andy. What do you got?
Well, guys, it's not often that I say this, but Dodge County lost a good Republican, Bob Getch, who was a hobby farmer and a good guy and sort of like a Bill Proxmire Republican, if that's even possible. And he was responsible for keeping the fine for seatbelts down at $10 rather than $50 or whatever. And he was also responsible for getting, along with Tommy, getting the 4 lanes up from Sun Prairie and Columbus up to Beaver Dam. So that's, this guy was I never knew Dale Schultz, but he was a moderate Republican and, down to earth. And he was around before the Fitzgerald brothers invaded from Chicago. And, their dad was a cop down in Chicago back in, I don't know, the 70s or whatever it was. But
Andy, I got good news for you, buddy. I've been dying to tell you and the rest of our listening audience up in the Dodge County part of Wisconsin, we're coming back to Johnny's Lounge in Beaver Dam. We're going up there. I believe the date has been set for July 15th, and we're doing another party this time on the deck, come hell or rain or high water. We're gonna stare at the lake. We're gonna party on the deck at Johnny's Lounge. And Andy, I expect to see you there.
I better be there. Yes, I'll be there with bells on.
The summer of love, it continues. May I point out, we now have an official sponsor of the Summer of Love, Chad's Design Build, here locally in the city of Madison. A fine builder, Chad's Design Build. They have taken on the broad, encompassing role of being the official sponsor of the Summer of Love, Don.
Awesome. What a great sponsorship. Thank you, Chad. And thank you, Andy, for the call. Let's get one more in here. Nick from Madison, you are up. Welcome, sir. What do you got?
Hey, thank you so much. Yeah, I think, when you were talking about Trump and everything, when you opened the show, here's the thing, okay? Yes, I'm a conservative, but I also live in a very progressive city, and I have a lot of very good progressive friends, and I feel like I'm getting it from both sides, and I just get so tired of it. I'm not a Trump supporter, but I am a conservative, and I think I have good principles that I think Trump threw away. Does that make sense?
What's your point other than defending yourself in this island of pity? What other point,
left.
Nick?
Nick, let me ask you then. Who do you see as the leadership of your conservative Republican Party right now? Who would you point to as leadership?
Who do I point to as leadership? I don't point to anyone's leadership. Maybe I could be leadership. I don't know. But no, I just think that I think a lot of people bought Trump's con hook, line, and sinker. And I'm just tired of that. And I'm tired of defending myself against my progressive friends who I love, So, I'm getting it from both sides.
You made that point, and I would say, Nick, whether or not it's about your politics, man, a guy like you always going to have to defend himself in life just because.
Come on.
Come back. Nick. A fine guest, John Nichols, the national affairs correspondent of The Nation.
All right. Thank you very much. When I say make America great again, it could never be done without you. Great people.
Sorry, folks, park's closed. The moose out front should have told you.
Explain that, because my voters don't get it.
WTTN 1580 AM News Talk Radio, built for the 99%, is rural Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
Hey, Jimmy K here. You already know that Max Inc. Radio plays local, independent music. So what are you waiting for? Send us your new music. We are always looking for new music for on-air playback, interviews, and live performances in the Devil's Lair. Just click submit on the website, maxincradio.com. Get your name and music out there. Max Inc. Radio. Radio for the people.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella. As Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines, it's my job to make sure your network is up 99.999% of the time. Technology is constantly evolving, and keeping your business up to date in an ever-changing environment can be a hassle. At Five Nines, we're here to help. Five Nines is more than just our name. It's the level of service you can expect. Better IT gives your business a competitive advantage. Learn how Five Nines can help at fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. This is day 5 since the collapse of a condo building near Miami. 10 people are confirmed dead. More than 150 still missing.
Alfredo Lopez looks at the building he once lived in and was able to escape from.
I have a lot of survivor's guilt on this, Why me and why not my neighbor from 604? She was like a lovely lady.
Lopez and his wife narrowly made it out of their 6th floor apartment.
It shook when the second boom happened, that for sure, and that startled us. We almost fell out of our bed. But, everything that I saw when I opened the door, facing east, there was nothing there.
He wonders how anyone could still be alive after 5 days.
They're holding out hope, but I think that I made peace.
Rescue expert Earl Tilton says there is hope. Rescuers have found survivors as long as a week past the initial catastrophe. I'm Julie Walker.
I'm Ed Donahue.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. President Joe Biden will be traveling to La Crosse on Tuesday. The official announcement on Sunday evening did not include many details, except that the president will be in the area to talk about his bipartisan infrastructure plan his administration is pursuing with Congress. Tune in to the Devil's Advocates radio show for special coverage from La Crosse of the president's visit. According to the Legislative Fiscal Bureau, a tax cut Republicans in the Wisconsin legislature are pursuing could lead to a $45 million a year tax break for railroad companies. GOP lawmakers are proposing the elimination of the personal property tax, which requires most businesses to pay for their equipment and furniture. The proposal would cost the state $200 million a year and leave a loophole for railroad companies to sue and be included in the tax exemption, costing the state an additional $45 million a year. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but they are kind of a big deal.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. It's a Get Back to Work Monday. Talking to you, Salvia. We are joined right now live via phone by a good friend and a fine guest. He is John Nichols with The Nation, national affairs correspondent thereof. John, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates.
Hey, John.
Hey, man. It's good to meet with you.
John, I got to tell you, I would love to hang out with you in La Crosse tomorrow, chasing President Joe Biden. I wish the Biden administration wasn't being so sketchy with the guy's itinerary.
Yeah, I like hanging out in La Crosse. I don't even need to have a president there to enjoy La Crosse. It's a town that rises above the level of a presidential visit on its own. But it'd be nice to know a little more. From what I understand, and this probably tells you something about the condition of the farming industries in Wisconsin. The initial plan was to go to a farm, and they wanted to emphasize some issues as regards beef processing and some of the concentration of processing in agriculture and things like that. And I think they're still struggling to find a farm. I hope they don't think they're going to find any cows in La Crosse.
Well, maybe not in the city limits, but you don't have to go far, John.
Yeah, well, I think that's the theory. And from what I understand, they may, land in La Crosse and then hit the road a little bit, but I could be wrong.
I think they're going to Coon Valley, John. It's just right around the bluff, and it's beautiful, picturesque.
It's exquisite. You are right. Do you remember? This is one of my favorite things. This is some years ago. John Kerry, who is now, advising on climate, but he was running for president in 2004, and they wanted him to be like a little bit of a man of the people, and so they took him out skeet shooting, I think, north of La Crosse someplace. He went into some gun range, and he showed up wearing like his hunting clothes, and they were like really good, boots, like the perfectly buffed pants, the jacket that you could put your shells in, the whole bit. And someone, as I recall aloud, it's how they looked at him and said, "Man, that outfit probably cost more than my house."
Oops.
undermined the man of the people thing a little, but you got to watch out for that.
No worse than the windsurfing, though, John.
No, yeah. Hey, it's always one must be careful about these things. But that's actually sort of Biden's genius, right? He just sticks to the suit. You do not see him making he doesn't do too many costume changes.
Well, he does go like blue Oxford, with the sleeves rolled up occasionally, no sport coat, but that's about as dressed down as Biden ever gets.
Yeah, that's about as loose as the man gets, and probably smart. But if they take him out to a farm, right, and and he's gotta do the outfit and stuff like that, maybe you see him in little plaid shirts and jeans, something like that.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Got a fine guest. He is John Nichols from The Nation, a Wisconsinite like Dom and I are, and we're alums of the fine university in La Crosse, the state one, not the good one. University of Wisconsin La Crosse grads. Yeah, Viterbo's a fine university. And then there's the one I went to. At least as a mass comm major, John, it was perhaps not the finest of J schools. Let's put it that way.
Oh, you couldn't get into Platteville?
I had considered Northwestern, but it was a little pricier than La Crosse. But let me ask you, John, why would Joe Biden come to southwestern Wisconsin? What is the appeal of the Mississippi River portion of the state?
The cheese, obviously. So you get some of your better cheddars in that area. But if by chance you're talking about politics, look, it's all about politics. The Mississippi River kind of corridor starting in Western Illinois and Western Iowa. It used to be even Northern Missouri, but that corridor going up the Mississippi, and then obviously hitting Wisconsin and Minnesota, is a political swing region. It's a battleground politically. And if Democrats do well in eastern Minnesota, western Wisconsin, northeastern Iowa, northwestern Illinois, they do well at both the presidential level and in congressional elections. And to give you a sense, right, if you want to look at where some of the most competitive House races in 2022 are going to be, it's right up that Mississippi River. The Ron Kind seat is going to be competitive. I think there's no doubt of that. It was certainly in the last cycle. That Northwest Illinois seat, the sitting member of Congress is stepping down, and there's going to be a great battle royale there. That Eastern Minnesota seat is often competitive and often, up for grabs. And that Northeast Iowa seat is, in fact, very much in play, and it's going to have a very serious race. It just turned in 2020. So bottom line is, you look up and down that region, this is where especially a Democratic president should go, and where you should spend a lot of time making a lot of connections and basically communicating, A, that you're in touch with the region, and B, that you're doing good for it, that you're bringing it benefits. And I think Biden gets that. He understands politics enough to know that if you're flying into Wisconsin, you can go to Madison. Madison's great. I love Madison. But you're going to be talking to, people who are probably pretty sympathetic to you already. You can go over to Waukesha County and say, oh, I'm staking out my ground in Republican areas, and you may have some impact. There's some of those suburban voters that are in swing. But the smartest place to go in Wisconsin, La Crosse or Eau Claire, because those are the places where, basically elections are decided.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. John Nichols, the national affairs correspondent with The Nation, joins us on the phone. John, what kind of impact, and again, knowing that this Mississippi Valley area is kind of a swingy area of the state of Wisconsin, what kind of residual impact do you think some of the stimulus money and now this new child tax credits that are going to be coming out, actual dollars in the pockets of citizens, how long do you think, how much goodwill do you think this administration and Biden will get from that? Do you think that will last through the election?
No, it won't. But it does get goodwill. I mean, I think that's two parts of the same coin here. There's no question that putting money in people's pockets, especially coming out of the pandemic, was very appealing. It continues to be very appealing. In addition, I think that the vaccination program, just, getting people vaccinated, getting, the world kind of back into play, that counts for a lot, and don't underestimate it. However, November 2022 is a political lifetime away, and you're going to have a lot that happens in between. The economy will go up and down. It'll have some twists and turns. We could have a resurgence of COVID. Countries around the world are having it right now. You have also just the sort of ongoing question, what have you done for me lately? So at the end of the day, what Biden needs to do is to continually deliver on that, as you put it, money in the pocket, or at the very least on a sense that, he's getting things done. He's making things happen. He's governing. And then he has to do exactly what he's going to do on Tuesday, which is get in the plane and go out to tell America that you're governing. You can't just presume that people are going to, be conscious of it or aware of it or care about it unless you're A, doing big things on a regular basis, and then B, going out and talking about it.
John, I want to get your opinion on the state politically of the infrastructure deal and this reconciliation. Obviously, last week, the president came out with some Republicans and they're very proud. We have a deal. And then he said, some things about a parallel track and reconciliation, these other bills that are priorities for the Democrats. Nancy Pelosi says, well, let's let Senate do their thing and we'll pick up in the House after they do it. How do you see this bill now? I mean, the headlines are saying, Biden is trying to backtrack and, keep the Republicans at the table. How do you see this playing out? What's your opinion of how this transpired, John?
Convo friggin' looted. It's like, okay, we got an infrastructure plan, but we're taking stuff out of it. Then we're going to pass it in another plan, and one of them's going to be bipartisan, and one of them was going to ram it through with reconciliation. And somehow it's all coming there, and you're going to get everything you want, but it's, we're going to be, loving up our Republican friends over on this side, and then we're going to be fighting them with everything we got over on that side. And it's, I think the messaging on it is a mess. I understand what the president's trying to do. It's sort of, really the two sides of who he is. He's a veteran of the Senate who remembers a time when you could build bipartisan deals, and he knows that, gets you a lot of credit on the talk shows on Sunday morning. By the same token, he's got a Democratic Party that's getting increasingly frustrated with things not getting done and with all this bargaining with Republicans. And so, I know that there was a couple points last week where they were talking about this parallel track and stuff like that. At the end of the day, I think that we're still faced with the reality. For all the theater here, we're faced with the reality that anything good is almost certainly going to have to come through reconciliation. And I know that disappoints our fans of bipartisanship, but even the deal that he had with the Republicans, that thing required 10 Republicans to come over, right? And to stay with him, through all the wrangling with the House, through any kind of reconciliation, or not reconciliation in that form, but reconciliation between the House and Senate packages. I don't think that's possible. And remember, let's say it is 10 Republicans, if there's 10 Republicans that are solid with Biden on some kind of deal, what happens when Donald Trump says, hey, what about this guy? How come you're doing that? And does that Republican withstand that pressure from Trump or from their home state party? I still believe we're ending up with reconciliation.
Folks, that's John Nichols, our fine guest from The Nation magazine. Bernie Sanders said today to Joe Biden and Joe Manchin, no reconciliation bill, no deal. I don't think the progressive left's going to accept the watered down version of our favored infrastructure bill. There's no reason to, John. And I continuously make this point, and I feel like some of this is kabuki theater, Biden and the centrist righties and the centrist lefties. But I think in some way, John, he's given a little too much cover to the Kristen Sinemas and the Joe Manchins by giving them this false impression that somehow we're going to come up with a centrist bipartisan bill, he's also giving them some cover fire on ending the filibuster. John, what do you think's more important? If we got rid of the filibuster, we can get a lot more of what we want done.
Absolutely, we can. Do you even know what kabuki theater is?
Sort of.
Yeah, see, same here. And so, but, we presume it involves some sort of like, two images kind of in the head at the same time, causing us to imagine, all sorts of things are possible and all sorts of things are going on. And it works right up to the point where you decide, okay, I'm not following this. And my sense is that we're getting pretty close to that point. There are an awful lot of progressives who have been incredibly patient with, Manchin, Sinema, some of the other Democrats, and with, this incredible deference to Susan Collins, right? And to, Lisa Murkowski and Bob Portman, with all due respect, at a certain point, as Molly Ivins used to say, you're supposed to dance with them that brung you. The truth is that Joe Biden got elected president because a lot of Democrats and a lot of progressives worked really hard to get rid of Donald Trump. And I think there's a growing frustration with all this bargaining rather than governing. And, I appreciate Bernie Sanders for saying what he said. I suspect he speaks for a lot of progressive members of the House and Senate.
John Nichols, you got a few more minutes for us? Because Trump's back out at the rally doing his pity parties.
I love that.
And there's some new books and some new reporting.
Absolutely. Mike Gravel died, and we're very sorry about that. And, lots of things going on. I could not think of anything I'd rather do than stick around.
Stick around. More John Nichols, the political party. It continues.
They're winners. Winners get to do what they want.
So relax. Let's have some fun out here. This game's fun, okay?
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join Move On's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
The tear gas changed the crowd's demeanor. There was an air of disbelief as people realized that the police whom they supported were firing on them. "What are you doing? We support you," someone yelled. All of a sudden, pro-police people felt the police were attacking them, and they didn't know why. The pro-police crowd went from disbelief and confusion to anger.
The police instigated the crowd, right? The police were the oppressors here? So, Ron, Black Lives Matter?
I don't know, but I'm suspicious.
Listen to Devil's Advocates weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
The Devil's Advocates, so relevant they have 1 foot in tomorrow.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Our fine guest, John Nichols from The Nation. He's the national affairs correspondent. He stuck around for one more segment. John, thank you for doing so. Before we get to some of the current events, you brought up Senator Gravel, who an Alaskan senator who read portions of the Pentagon Papers into the congressional record. Again, this is, regarding Vietnam, and that our government was misleading us, John. And then I see the chyrons today. This seems like a long time ago, right? We've learned from history. And then what? Over the weekend, our military forces, put some attacks on, I guess, Syrian-backed rebels in Iraq, and Iraq has now, come out against that, saying they should not have done it, they didn't have permission. And the Chiron on CNN now reporting that U.S. forces in Syria have come under rocket attacks after our airstrikes over the weekend. John, the more things change, the more they stay the same. What's your thought on our most recent war efforts?
Well, look, that's why I brought up Gravel, because Gravel back in 1971, literally, he just died on Saturday, but it's 50 years ago this week. In fact, 50 years ago Wednesday. Overnight, he read the details of the Pentagon Papers into the congressional record. He did something that nobody else in Congress does, and that they haven't done since, really, and that is use your congressional immunity to tell the people what is being done in their name, but without their informed consent, to blow open the official secrets. It was an incredible act, and for that he deserves a lot of hero credits. But it gets to the heart of the matter. It's not just about the theatrical moment, right? That presentation of the information, that reading of the details into the record. Although I would say it's quite a fine video, but it gets to the deeper matter that there's an awful lot that we do in areas of war and peace, military power, that people aren't informed about, that they're not brought into the mix on. And I realize it's maybe hard to go and talk to every American about whether we ought to drop bombs here or there, but you ought to consult with Congress. And I always hold to that view that barring the notion that there's missiles headed toward the U.S., i.e., that we are under attack, and in that moment you have to respond immediately, and you can't necessarily consult. But outside of that moment, there ought to be consultation. And the notion that you've got some kind of authorization of the use of military force from 20 years ago that tells you you can do something, it's just, to me, it's offensive to democracy. It's offensive to the basic premises that we elect our leaders, and we elect those leaders to represent us in making decisions. But B, it also has, as you point out, the potential for blowback, right? You're throwing bombs around the world. At a certain point, some of the people get mad about that, and then they start to do things to you. And it perpetuates a crisis, so to speak, or at least not a crisis, at least an ongoing conflict, which we really ought to be trying to back away from. We shouldn't be policing so many places around the world. And that's what Mike Gravel tried to tell us back 50 years ago, and he lived to be 91, and I'm afraid he didn't see us fix things.
Our fine guest, John Nichols. And John, when you talk about offensive to democracy, I got to bring up Donald Trump.
I thought you were going to bring up Ron Johnson.
Well, he's there. Give me a moment. There. If there's time, we'll talk about both.
All right.
But Trump's back in the rally format. He was in Ohio attacking a Republican in his own turf on Saturday. But before he did that, John, he sent out this email missive about Wisconsin Republicans not being supportive enough of the big lie. And they had to come out like bootlickers all weekend saying, no, we do believe in the big lie, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And it was the day of the GOP convention in Wisconsin. I took a little glee. This is a party really destroying itself right before our eyes, John, or at least that's my interpretation.
Yeah, I know. It's sort of, if we, continue the war metaphors, it's two countries who don't really care about fighting with each other, right? There's a certain twist that occurs when you have the sort of establishment Republicans in Wisconsin taking a hit from Donald Trump, because of course the establishment Republicans in Wisconsin are by and large as crooked or more crooked than Donald Trump, and they have tried desperately to serve his interests on a regular basis, only to find out that they didn't satisfy him sufficiently. And here's the bottom line: Trump was fed a line by somebody, And that's what interests me the most. Like, who kind of ratted out Voss and these other guys? Because, the bottom line on this thing, the fascinating thing is that, and I know this is going to be rough on Robin Voss's ego, but I don't think Donald Trump sits down there at Mar-a-Lago and is, like hitting refresh on the Cap Times website to see if there's any new news on Robin Voss. And so somebody from Wisconsin picked up the phone and said, you ought to mess with Robin Voss on the day before the state Republican convention. And I want to know who that is, because that's my favorite Republican for this week.
John Nichols, since you told us where you want to go next, let's talk about U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, also of Wisconsin. Ron had sort of a misinformation town hall this weekend, sort of proposing lots of alt science and alternative medicines, and had a little presser today. What do you think about Rojo?
Oh my gosh. Look, he genuinely, Tom Nelson, who's running for the Senate, actually had the answer on this one. He said that they ought to attach a danger warning to Ron Johnson. You should have to wear it like on his suit, that like, it's like, be careful, keep away from children, and, don't
Mr. Yuck.
Exactly. There you go. You're way ahead of me here. A little Mr. Yuck sticker on the forehead. Because the guy peddled so much bad information. We spend so much time talking about the misinformation he peddles about the election and, kind of carrying Trump's water there. But the truth of the matter is that Ron Johnson is as bad or worse than Donald Trump when it comes to spreading misinformation about vaccines, about COVID-19. And it's not even like conspiracy theories. He's just flat wrong. There are conspiracy theorists who, literally say, hey, Ron, like, we don't need your help here. Because his level of ignorance is so scorching. It's like you get within the vicinity of it, you're going to get burned. He's like, yeah, I think I might have had COVID, so I don't need a vaccine. And you're like, really? And, it's like, or maybe somebody I run into had COVID. They don't need it. And I don't know anything, but here's what I think. And whenever he gets called out on it, he always said, well, I'm not really saying this. I just think these people should be heard. Well, no, in some cases, there's some people that are so crazy, they probably shouldn't be amplified. And that's what Ron Johnson does.
And Ron Johnson is perhaps one of those people that should not be amplified. John Nichols, thank you so much, man. We're at the end of the hour. We'll check in with you when we return from Joe Biden in La Crosse.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Okay.
I'm going to bomb the shit out of them.
Everybody's doing it.
President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join MoveOn's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
Hi there, I'm Kirk Bankstad, and I own the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I also have a super PAC. We make good trouble in the North Woods of Wisconsin. You can support our efforts at the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and buy our Woke gear, like t-shirts, hoodies, and trucker hats. Enter the code RADIO and get 10% off on your next purchase. A portion of all sales support the Minocqua Brewing Company's super PAC, which is dark money meant for good. That's the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com.
You are listening to WTTN Columbus, W224EG Madison, always streaming at doubleradio927.com.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. Near Miami,
we did recover another body. That brings the count to 10.
Mayor Daniela Levine Cava says 151 people are still unaccounted for from the collapse last week of a condo building in Surfside, Florida.
Our top priority is search and rescue and find the people.
Assistant Fire Chief Ray Jadala says the search is very complicated.
It's not an issue of we could just attach a couple of cords to a concrete boulder and lift it and call it a day. We're digging through, again, rubbles of concrete the size of basketballs.
Building collapsed just days before a deadline for condo owners to start making steep payments toward more than $9 million in repairs that had been recommended nearly 3 years earlier. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the U.S. airstrikes on militias along the Iraq-Syria border are a balance of retaliation and protecting U.S. forces.
Iran is a bad actor in the region, and they have taken part in and supported and participated in extremely problematic behavior in our view.
The militias are vowing revenge. The Chicago Police Department confirmed today an officer who shot and killed an armed man in the back during a foot pursuit in March has been stripped of his police powers. Tropical storm Danny is churning off the coast of South Carolina. Forecasters expect this storm to drop a lot of rain. Forecasters say today could be the hottest so far in the Pacific Northwest during this recent heat wave. In Portland, Oregon, light rail and streetcars were shut down due to high temperatures, and districts halted summer school bus service. The Make-A-Wish Foundation is disputing what it calls a misinformation campaign about whether children who aren't vaccinated against the coronavirus will be eligible to have their wishes granted. The foundation says these children are, in fact, still eligible. This is AP News.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
I've already guaranteed this will be my last term. I'm doing this because I want to solve these problems.
Was it problem solving when you blocked COVID relief or when you downplayed the insurrection?
I want to do it because I'm so concerned about the direction of this country. I've got something to offer.
Like becoming a hydroxychloroquine salesman?
I'll go home, smile on my face, realizing I'd left it all on the field.
You must be exhausted.
6 years from now, I'll for sure be going home.
We'll hold you to your word, Senator. Go home.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Jimmy, everyone finally went home.
Did they run out of brats and beer?
No, but they did need some sleep because live music is back.
Double dipping infected everyone. Our plan worked.
Double Dip with Jimmy K and Rocker on Max Inc. Radio every Saturday at 6 p.m. Local music, live performances, interviews, and Max Inc. Heavy. Excellent! It's on Max Inc. Radio Saturday nights.
Rocker, they're back.
Knucklehead CBD and Vapes are one-stop shop for everything you need. Knucklehead strives to be the safest place in Madison. Forgot a mask? No problem. We got one for you. Stuck at home or in a hurry? Call us at 608-284-0151 and schedule a pickup or delivery. Check out our ever-growing online store at knuckleheadcbd.com and get something shipped right to your door. We love sales at Knucklehead, so make sure to check out our social media for all of our daily deals. Shop is open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. Knucklehead CBD and Vapes, 550 State Street. I'm Lando Commando, and I'll see you there.
Hey, it's Pizza Box Mike. I've got a show outside the Pizza Box. Be sure to listen on Saturdays at noon on Devil Radio. There is a reason why they won't let me on Facebook anymore.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. Before the Republican Party of Wisconsin's annual convention over the weekend, former President Donald Trump issued a statement calling out the Republican legislative leadership in Wisconsin for not doing more to overturn Wisconsin's 2020 election results and to resign if they were not willing to do more. A small group of Wisconsin Republicans brought a motion to end the convention by calling for Speaker Robin Voss's resignation, but failed. Republicans chalked up the statement from the former president as being misinformed. Forecasts of clouds and scattered thunderstorms throughout the day, with winds up to 10 miles an hour and a 60% chance for rain. High today of 79 degrees. Chance of rain and thunderstorms increases to 70% this evening with an overnight low of 69 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, it's a Monday. It's back to work time. Chasing Joe Biden to La Crosse, Wisconsin tomorrow, broadcasting from the road, from a bar. So we'll have fun tomorrow. But this big show, it's just getting started, Dom. And we're going to talk about the former Attorney General, the corrupted former Attorney General. In this case, I mean Bill Barr.
Bill Barr and Donald Trump, they had themselves a little breakup. Oh, I hate it when I see relationships like that sour. It's so sad and totally expected. I mean, you cannot satisfy the narcissist that is Donald Trump. I mean, look at how he attacked the Republicans here in the state of Wisconsin. Look how he attacks anybody who ever worked for him, from a coffee boy to the Attorney General. The Atlantic.
Aren't those one and the same things, ultimately?
It can be. Jonathan Karl, writing in the Atlantic, a fairly lengthy piece. We're not going to read all of it to you, but I want to get a couple of the headlines out there for you. As Karl writes inside William Barr's breakup with Trump, and it goes through some of the, the goings on around December 1st when Barr came out and he essentially started saying, I haven't seen anything to substantiate the claims from Trump that there's been widespread fraud. And I'll pick it up here in the article. Barr had said nothing publicly to indicate that he disagreed with the president about the election. In fact, a week after the election, he gave prosecutors the green light to investigate substantial allegations of voter irregularities that could potentially impact the outcome of the election. The move overturned longstanding policy that the Justice Department does not investigate voter fraud until after an election is certified. The theory behind the policy is that the department's responsibility is to prosecute crimes, not to get involved in election disputes. Barr's reversal of the policy was interpreted by some as a sign that he might use the department to help Trump overturn the election. I was very concerned about that as well. As Karl writes, but Barr told me he had already concluded that it was highly unlikely that evidence existed that would tip the scales in the election. Had he expected Trump to lose, he had expected Trump to lose, and therefore was not surprised by the outcome. He also knew that at some point, Trump was going to confront him about the allegations, so he wanted to be able to say that he had looked into them and that they were unfounded. So in addition to giving prosecutors approval to open investigations into clear and credible allegations of substantial fraud, Barr began his own unofficial inquiry into the major claims that the president and his allies were making. My attitude was, it was put up or shut up time, Barr told me. If there was evidence of fraud, I had no motive to suppress it. But my suspicion all the way along was that there was nothing there. It was all BS. A lot of BS. Barr also looked into allegations that voting machines across the country were rigged to switch Trump votes to Biden votes. He received 2 briefings from cybersecurity experts at the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI. What, no cyber ninjas? Barr said this, we realized from the beginning it was just BS. Barr told me, noting that even if the machines somehow changed the count, it would show up when they were recounted by hand. It's a counting machine, and they save everything that was counted. So you just reconcile the two. There had been no discrepancy reported anywhere, and I'm still not aware of any discrepancy. Barr told Jonathan Karl at The Atlantic.
A little bit more here, Dom. Do you see the part about Mitch McConnell? Mitch McConnell, the minority leader. I'm going to read again from the body of this Atlantic piece. To McConnell, the road to maintaining control of the Senate. Let's not forget, special elections were happening in Georgia on January 5th, ironically, one day before the insurrection. To McConnell, the road to maintaining control of the Senate was simple. Republicans needed to make the argument that with Biden soon to be in the White House, it was crucial that they have a majority in the Senate to check his power. But McConnell also believed that if he openly declared Biden the winner, Trump would be enraged and likely act to sabotage the Republican Senate campaigns in Georgia. Barr related his conversations with McConnell to me. McConnell confirms the account. Here's the quote. Look, we need the president in Georgia, McConnell told Barr. And so we cannot be frontally attacking him right now, but you're in a better position to inject some reality. How dare they? To inject some reality into the situation. You are really the only one who can do it. I understand that, Barr said, and I'm going to do it at the appropriate time. On another call, McConnell again pleaded with Barr to come out and shoot down the talk of widespread fraud. Bill, I look around and you're the only person who can do it, McConnell told him. You're the only person that can do it. Well, he did something, right? He did something. He made a statement on December 1st and effectively said he didn't see any evidence that would be widespread enough to overturn the outcome of the election. How dare he, right, Dom? How dare he? And this newest reporting out has inspired a response of sorts, Dom.
Yeah.
A press release from the Save America PAC, the President Donald J. Trump PAC.
The SAP PAC.
The SAP PAC. Had Mitch McConnell fought for the presidency like he should have, there would right now be presidential vetoes on all of the phase legislation that he has proven to be incapable of stopping. Not to mention he lost 2 senatorial seats in Georgia, making the Republicans the minority in the Senate. He never fought for the White House and blew it for the country. Too bad I backed him in Kentucky. He would have been primaried and lost. Based on press reports, he convinced his buddy Bill Barr to get to get the corrupt, based on the massive amounts of evidence that the fake news refuses to mention. Election done, over with, and sealed for Biden, ASAP, exclamation point. So sort of a strong response, attacking both the minority leader and his former attorney general. And Dom, I would point out, I got this strongly worded missive from the former president at 1:26 p.m. But I noted, I also got a different missive from the former president at 1:18 p.m., just 8 minutes before. So just for, state of mind, let's just say, Dom, I'd like to also include this for the record. At 1:26, Trump losing his mind at Mitch McConnell and Bill Barr, who allegedly talked about the fact that Trump didn't win the election and how dare they inject that sort of reality into the conversation. And at 1:18, 8 minutes before that little, presser, Trump tweeted this one out or emailed it, because he doesn't have a Twitter account currently.
Aww.
Ratings alert. CNN's The Lead with Jake Tapper has shed a staggering 75% of its audience since January when Trump left D.C. So 8 minutes before attacking McConnell and attacking Bill Barr, he was attacking the ratings of Jake Tapper on CNN.
Wow.
Because he's a very stable genius now.
Yes, he is. You know what else is down since Trump left DC? Coronavirus deaths are down since Trump left DC. Wonder if that's got anything to do with that. I mean, for real, what, really? And I guess to your point, Curtis, state of mind, he's bouncing back and forth from grievance and trolling CNN's ratings to attacking the former attorney general and his fellow Republicans, right? The fellow Republicans. These are his teammates, right? These are his teammates on the field of battle. And it's just a party just eating itself alive. And Donald Trump's still out there right now doing his rally, still doing his thing. But what this constant theme of those around him, let's call them his allies, let's call them his fellow Republicans. It wasn't just McConnell trying to convince the attorney general to inject some reality into the situation. It was also General Milley, looking around the room, looking for attorneys to support his position that, Donald Trump is the one in charge and that the general is not in charge. There is a constant theme of just this lack of understanding of what reality is coming from witnesses, fellow conservatives, about Donald Trump reaction and how he carried himself during this administration. And it is a very consistent and concerning theme that the man is straight up out of his friggin' mind.
And Dominic, this sort of, cleaning up the record after the fact by William Barr, this cleansing of the record that he now hopes to do, reclamation of his tarnished image, right? Well, according to Greg Sargent over at the Washington Post, the plumb line, William Barr's bombshell about Trump is more revealing than it seems. I'd like to get this one in for the record, Dom, and we'll take plenty of your phone calls this hour, 844-967-2789, jamming up the 4 o'clock happy hour with fine guests. So you better start dialing. But I'm going to get this one started. We'll carry it over to the next segment, Dom. Having gone to the extraordinary lengths to help Donald Trump corrupt the presidency, William Barr is working overtime to launder his post-Trump reputation. But the former attorney general's latest cleanup exercise may end up showing that the stain of his corruption is even darker than we thought, in a way that soils other Republicans as well. Barr has offered fresh details about Trump's effort to subvert the election to journalist Jonathan Karl. These are supposed to be exonerating, but they open up new lines of inquiry about the post-election conduct of Barr himself and show that the machinations of Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell are more depraved than we knew. Dom, this is a meaty article, a strongly written column by Greg Sargent over at the Washington Post. We'll bring it back for you because I think you should hear it. And if you want to participate in this big show, your hot takes, your opinions, always welcome here. 844-967-2789. Catch the Devil's Advocates while we're in studio, going on the road to La Crosse, chasing Joe Biden tomorrow, doing the show from a bar, Dom. Some day drinking. I'm looking forward to it. We grew up in those bars in La Crosse.
Hey, just like going home, baby.
Going back to school. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Your calls could be next. 844-96-PARTY.
The one thing we know, and they do say, anybody that runs against Trump suffers.
Well, history's written by the winner, so it largely depends on who's writing the history.
So you get nothing. You lose.
Call me the ratings machine.
I'm not down for voter suppression in my state.
No, right. This. It's got to be easy. It was great to have these options. We should have these options. We should have days off for people to go vote. We should expand the availability, the ease of our own citizens in this country to participate in self-governance. Republicans, why are you so opposed to that?
Because they lose those elections.
Listen to Devil's Advocates weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join Move On's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson joins us on the phone regarding our military influence. Aren't we selling arms right now to Saudi Arabia, and aren't they using munitions that they have purchased from us in their war?
And if we weren't doing that, because they've got plenty of money, they'll buy less precise munitions from other people, and the bloodshed would be worse.
Well, the blood might be on someone else's hands then, Ron.
Well, I'm going to talk to you about that, Ron.
The Devil's Advocates. Rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. If you have not yet done it, make sure you download the Devil Radio app. You can check it out in your app stores on your smartphone. Look for Devil Radio.
You can take us with worldwide. And tomorrow, Dominic, as mentioned, they're going to La Crosse, Wisconsin, going to do made it nearly world famous. But Dominic, we've got our fine host from tomorrow, Rudy, on the phones, listening on the app, calling in from La Crosse. Rudy, how you doing, man?
Hey, Rudy.
Good. How are you doing, Mike? Down. What's
awesome, man. Looking forward to coming to town
excited,
and partying
more
tomorrow,
excited
man.
about the Devils coming or Joe Biden?
Yeah, well, you guys actually, but I'm happy to hear Joe's coming to La Crosse too. But
Rudy, how's business been post pandemic? We saw you had limited hours. We're hoping you're open at least for the party tomorrow afternoon.
Absolutely. I didn't know I wanted to find out what you guys wanted, but everything's cool. We'll be looking forward to seeing you guys, and it should be pretty cool. And I want to. My wife is listening. And my wife and my daughter Julia and my son Christian their grandmother are listening in Madison. And I wanted to bring this thing up about Joe Biden. That one of the things that I really admire him for is how hard he worked on the Affordable Care Act, which may have saved our daughter's life. Our 8-year-old is type 1 diabetic, who was diagnosed at about 18 months, and it was a pretty serious situation, and it still is. And if it wouldn't have been for the ACA after my wife's position was eliminated, we wouldn't have had insurance. And because with all my old wrestling injuries, I'm pretty much uninsurable.
I bet, Rudy. Maybe if you'd have been a better wrestler, Rudy.
Come on.
I'm still breaking balls, Rudy. Some things have never changed.
Yeah. Dom, didn't you play ball at UWL?
I did not. Nope.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you did. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But and my neighbor Ron Kind, I hope that he's going to be at that event tomorrow, wherever Joe is going, because Ron owns a building next to me, and that Orndorff or whoever that candidate who ran against him was trashing him, and all the stuff he was saying was untrue because he's my next door neighbor.
Rudy, that was the guy who's the guy who ran against Ron Kind for Congress and lost? Is he the one who took his campaign money and funded his trip to the insurrection party down in D.C.?
No, I think that was somebody else. Maybe it was. I don't know. But
no, I think the Daily Beast is reporting that is indeed the case. The guy that ran against Ron Kind was a capital insurrectionist and used campaign cash to pay his freight.
Derek Van Orden, is that who you're talking about, Rudy?
Yeah.
Yep, that's the cat.
Yeah.
Yep, that's him. He was there.
He was running around with my neighbors trying to dig up dirt on Kind, and all the neighbors like me. Even the guys that are GOP supporters, they like Ron because he's a pretty moderate. I mean, he's
former district attorney, kind of a law and order blue dog Democrat. Handsome cat, good looking guy. Been in La Crosse most of his adult life, at least as long as I can recall. How do you not like a guy who lives in God's country, right, Rudy?
Yeah, Ron grew up in La Crosse. My junior year, they beat us for the city championship in football. He was a stud football player, man. He played football at Harvard after that. He didn't start, but I was surprised at that because he was a big name in sports when he was a kid.
Well,
So,
Dom used to work on a farm, Rudy, so that was his claim to fame.
Yeah, we all got stories, Rudy.
Buddy, can't wait to see you tomorrow. Really appreciate you allowing us to bring the party on the road to La Crosse to Shooters on 3rd Street. It's going to be like old times. Going to hang out, do some shooters at Shooters with Rudy. Although I got to tell you, Rudy, which is his nickname, now with Giuliani out there, it's kind of giving them a bad moniker.
For the Rudy name. Yeah, right.
So anyways, Rudy, looking forward to tomorrow. Will be a fun event. Hopefully you all tune in on the Devil Radio app or AM 950, or maybe out in Eureka on 1480 AM or 1580 AM here in Columbus, Wisconsin, or down in 1035 in Janesville. I think we touched nearly everybody now, Tom. Touching. Post-pandemic, it feels good to touch the people again.
We got some hugging to catch up on.
Well, Rudy gets a hug. Down this article, I don't know if we can really jump back in. Kind of started early and didn't leave ourselves adequate time again. I blame you.
I blame our fair audience. Hell, we'll never have to read aloud again if our audience joins us on the phones at 844-967-2789. Going back to La Crosse, we can get back into this on the other side. But I just want to kind of maybe react to Rudy's comments about how the ACA has really helped him and essentially could have saved his daughter's life. I mean, that's in story recruiting. We've heard these kinds of stories a lot, and it really. And this is one of the things that really brought me around. You've convinced me on this issue with this universal health care thing. It's easy to not worry about healthcare when you have healthcare insurance, and you don't have to go too deep into your pocket if it's provided to you by your employer, whatever the case may be. But there's a lot of people that don't have that opportunity. There's a lot of entrepreneurs out there, a lot of small business owners out there, and to get away from this insurance healthcare system that we basically inherited, and to try to do something different. I mean, think about all the people that are on some sort of government insurance right now, all the the armed forces and the politicians and anyone working for the state or the federal government. I think there's and then Medicare and Medicaid and we're talking about 130 million-ish people already on some form of government insurance. So don't tell me that we can't do it, that we can't broaden that out and include more people, so people like Rudy and his daughter get the care that they need.
Dominic, I think we've been to 2 political events prior in La Crosse. Joe Biden, when he showed up late for his own party because he's out hanging out with the college kids, talking to him on the street. And we were in a bar, so, it didn't bother us much.
We were late, too.
And Barack Obama. Remember when Obama came up to La Crosse? We broadcast that day as well. It won't be a rally, but we'll be in La Crosse tomorrow. But this show, it rolls on. More Devil's Advocates. We'll be right back.
I want to tell you, it's just occurred to me what the student body has been chanting for the last 2 or 3 minutes. It's the name Rudy.
I drink and I know things.
Talk radio made for the 99% on Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Chad's Design Build is proud to sponsor the Summer of Love on Devil Radio. We are committed to our community to demand better for each and every person. Doing the right thing isn't necessarily easy or inexpensive, but when we take the time to listen and learn, we can build a better community. Thoughtful remodeling is a lot like building an effective, progressive coalition. It takes patience, intelligence, and love. Experience helps too. Thank you, Joe Biden, and thank you, Devil Radio. On behalf of Chad's Design Build, here's to the Summer of Love.
So, Darcy Haber, I hear you have solar panels on your office building. Are all real estate brokers tree huggers?
Crew, you should know that at Solidarity Realty, we provide outstanding real estate service while adhering to our core progressive values. Environmental sustainability is a big part of that.
So you really walk your talk, huh?
Yep, I even walk to work.
Come on, always?
Well, sometimes I bike, and if I have an appointment across town, I use my hybrid.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Find them online at solidarityrealty.com. There is
coronavirus update. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Stocks finished mixed. The NASDAQ hit a record high. The Dow finished down 150 points. Japan is tightening coronavirus restrictions after an Olympic-related infection less than a month before the start of the Tokyo Games.
Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga has pledged to strengthen protocols at airports after a Ugandan Olympic team member tested positive for COVID-19, triggering concerns that the upcoming Olympic Games will spread infections. The team member, reportedly a coach, was quarantined on arrival, but the rest of the 9-person team was allowed to travel on a chartered bus to their pre-Olympics camp. 3 days later, a second Ugandan also tested positive for the virus, forcing all team members to self-isolate. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Australia is battling variant clusters. Sydney and Darwin are in lockdown. I'm Ed Donahue.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. On Friday evening, the Wisconsin Supreme Court declined to hear a case brought by a conservative businessman to ban absentee ballot drop boxes, limit who can return absentee ballots, and prevent election clerks from filling in missing addresses of a witness of an absentee ballot. Conservative Justice Brian Hagedorn joined the court's liberal justices in dismissing the case. Justice Hagedorn did say the suit posed important questions, but joined the dismissal for procedural reasons. The Milwaukee Bucks beat the Atlanta Hawks last night 113-102 to take a 2-1 lead in the NBA's Eastern Conference Finals. Game 4 of that series will be played tomorrow night at 7:30 in Atlanta. The Milwaukee Brewers swept the Colorado Rockies this weekend and will now host the Chicago Cubs for a 3-game series beginning tonight at 7:10. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Monday edition. Back to work for you, Salvia. Back to work for you, Fancy Brian. Back to listening for the rest of us. 844-967-2789. We'll get back to the phones. But Dominic, Bill Barr did a little interview with Jonathan Karl. We shared some of that from the Atlantic. But now I want to pick up a column written by Greg Sargent over at the Washington Post. And here's what Sargent says. Barr's main revelation concerns his break with Trump on December 1st, when Barr publicly declared that the Justice Department had not seen election fraud, and here's the quote, on a scale that would have changed the outcome. This enraged Trump. Several weeks before, in early November, Barr had taken the extraordinary step of authorizing U.S. attorneys to open election fraud investigations. The move attracted scalding criticism. The department had long refrained from such investigations until results are certified to avoid this very sort of politicization. Barr is now claiming he always knew the fraud claims were nonsense, as he told Karl, and this was a quote, my suspicion all the way was that they were all BS. I can't say the word. And there's this. Barr told me it already concluded it was highly unlikely the evidence existed that would tip the scales in the election. He also knew that at some point Trump was going to confront him about the allegations, and he wanted to be able to say that he had looked into them and that they were unfounded. Now back to the writing of Greg Sargent. But this isn't exonerating in the least. Barr is unintentionally admitting that he ordered a highly controversial change in department policy, one designed to insulate the department from getting drawn into disputes over election outcomes, even though he had already concluded that there was no basis to the election fraud claims. Here is a quote, Dom. He's essentially admitting that he opened the door to criminal prosecutions, changed longstanding policy that was there for the protection of elections without any basis in evidence, according to Noah Bookbinder, the president of Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, the often quoted crew, Dom. This is really problematic and very disturbing, Bookbinder said.
Curdy, the least charitable interpretation here is that Barr ordered the shift to sustain Trump's narrative of a fraudulent election. Barr, of course, had already had a history of using the department to prop up Trump's political narratives, having released a highly misleading summary of the special counsel report that allowed Trump to spin exoneration. Yes, Barr ultimately did admit there was not substantial election fraud, but he hedged, saying there wasn't enough to swing the outcome. And he said this after it had become unavoidably obvious that Trump's court challenges would fail. The more charitable interpretation is that Barr greenlighted election fraud investigations merely to arm himself to contest Trump's pressure to demonstrate that his loss was illegitimate. Even if so, the shift was still made to placate Trump. Even if you accept his motive, it was not that he was doing this for the good of the country and to protect the integrity of elections, Bookbinder told me. It's still driven by what Trump says and what Trumps want, which is inherently an improper basis for changing policy on what prosecutors can look into, Bookbinder said. All of which opens the door to further inquiry. One possibility might be for Congress to demand documents from the department relating to this policy shift to try to show the lack of any serious predicate for it or internal deliberations demonstrating that it was baseless. We are considering further investigation of this, and Congress should as well, Bookbinder told me. This comes as a Democratic investigation has already unearthed a host of new documents showing that Trump went to extraordinary lengths on other fronts to pressure the department into helping subvert the election. There's likely a lot more to unearth. And Curdy, if I recall over the weekend, of course not here on Friday, that the Attorney General now is fine with leaving this up to the investigator in the DOJ to do their own investigation, that he will not head this up. There's a lot to look into there, and I'm not clear that DOJ is prepared to police themselves.
Dominic, I wanted to include this part from the Greg Sargent column. McConnell looks even worse. On another front, Barr told Carl that McConnell had privately urged him to go public all along with the truth about fake election fraud. McConnell didn't want to publicly take on Trump, fearing it would imperil GOP chances in the Georgia runoffs. McConnell did this, Carl reports, even though he believed Trump's lies were damaging to the country. As Rick Hassan and Quintinta Jurisic point out, this shows McConnell asked Barr to use the department for the purpose of managing a GOP political problem, and that McConnell spent weeks refusing to acknowledge Trump's loss while knowing this was hurting the country. But here again, it's even worse than this. Recall that both GOP candidates in Georgia endorsed the Texas lawsuit to overturn the results based on fictions. It both supported GOP efforts to invalidate President Biden's electors in Congress. There is little chance that this was done in let me make sure this is absolutely clear. There was little chance this wasn't done in consultation with Mitch McConnell to keep Trump voters engaged. We now know this happened despite McConnell concluding that feeding Trump's election lies was hurting the country. Indeed, moves like that surely helped inspire the January 6th insurrection. As Greg Sargent concludes, the real upshot of Barr's exoneration tour is that it strengthens the case for a fuller fumigation of Trump's effort to subvert the election and his bone-deep corruption of the government to help him do it. Bill Barr digs the hole deeper in his effort to cover his ass and pretend like, no, I was the good guy. I was the guardrail. No, you weren't being the guardrails. You were politicizing the Department of Justice in one or the other way, but both ways are bad because they were both effectively to, put off Donald Trump.
To placate the president,
or
one way or the other.
Or to further advance the big lie, one or the other.
Yeah.
Which one do you think it was, Dom?
Trying to have it both ways. Guy like Bill Barr, he knows what he's dealing with in the president like Donald Trump. And Bill Barr sold his soul and told the president what he wanted to hear before he even got the job. So, he came in knowing he was going to do these kinds of things. As mentioned in the Sargent piece, one of the most galling pieces of Barr's tenure was this rewrite of the Mueller report. The judge is getting in his ass on this thing. It's terrible. So no, I'm not surprised any way, shape, or form that he would, number one, subvert policies and procedures at the Justice Department just so he has a better argument against Trump when he knows Trump's going to come at him on this. That's no reason to do that.
Well, Dom, just 3 weeks after his public pronouncement, he had left service in government. Bill Barr left his job on December 23rd.
To go spend time with family. More time with family.
Well, perhaps he had seen some of the reports through the FBI and other sources that, there was something of a trouble brewing in early January when the president was encouraging people to show up in D.C. and stand up.
It's going to be great. It's going to be historic.
It's going to be wild.
It's going to be wild, baby.
I believe is what Trump told
it's
people.
It's going to be wild. It was wild.
Oh, it was wild. It was wild. And Donald Trump was enthralled with it. Rudy Giuliani apparently drunk to the gills during the time. Ivanka didn't like the optics, but Trump liked him right up until the point where, he didn't.
Oh, he liked him up until the point he realized they're a bunch of tattooed, bearded, long-haired, weirdly dressed people, the disheveled masses. Not the great unwashed masses, not his kind of people. Hell, he thought they were Democrats. He told Kevin McCarthy that.
Which makes me wonder, what did he look at when he was at one of his rallies? Like, who did he look at anybody in the crowd at all?
Well, occasionally he'd glance at the teleprompters before he'd go off teleprompter.
Right.
And he'd always, kind of squint his eyes and look for CNN in the back to point the animus of the crowd towards them, back in the press jail pen. And above beyond that, maybe he had the bright lights in his eyes, or maybe the bronzer was running in his eyes, Dom. But the shining faces, the apparently toothless shining faces, some with facial tattoos and some headgear, Dom.
Wow.
Apparently, Trump didn't want to think that those were the vast majority of his people. That must be Democrats.
And how shallow was that even? Even so. Just think about this for a minute. The guy, comes in on a wave of populism, right? He's sitting there basically insurance for everybody. Remember when he was going to have insurance for everybody? That was a thing at one point. He started taking some of the highlights of Bernie Sanders, campaign. So he came in on this populist wave, and now he just denigrates them, right? Your cult leader thinks you're a POS, people. Do you understand this?
This is
what he thinks of you.
Wait till he starts calling them deplorables. 844-967-2789. Just half of them. Just half of them are deplorables. Dick from Madison, calling from the garage. How you doing, Dick?
Hey, Dick.
Great, guys. Before I get to Bill Barr, whoever the delegation is from Wisconsin that's greeting the president, don't you think it would be the right thing to do to invite him back here for Oktoberfest?
Oh, to La Crosse?
To get a real glimpse of La Crosse in Wisconsin.
Oh, Oktoberfest is a great glimpse, but I always preferred Coon Creek.
I tell you.
Put Joe and Kabbalah in a canoe. We could all go out to Coon Valley and race, and then back to the city to party.
There you go. But back to Bill Barr. At his age, this little clean up the loose ends thing, it's really not about cleaning up a job resume, It's more about cleaning up some loose ends to stay out of prison. For crying out loud, can you imagine what he'd be up to right now? Heaven forbid if Trump would have won. My God Almighty! No one even had. This guy is more corrupt in his own way than Trump. First of all, he's probably a lot smarter than Trump, but that doesn't take it.
That's a low bar. Yes, we'll all acknowledge that.
Yeah, a single cell amoeba would probably have a brain thrust bigger than him. But that given, this guy knows the ins and outs of things, and it's scary. Like you guys said earlier, skewed everything about the Mueller report. All these horrible things this man was up to. And now all of a sudden he's walking away from it all. Isn't it something? It's just, he's had this epiphany.
Good work if you can get it.
Dick, I'm not, and thanks for the call, man. I always love to hear from you and our audience, 844-967-2789. I'm not clear that this is any sort of effort other than public relations. I mean, if this was some sort of legal effort to clear his name, he fell woefully short. I mean, he basically admitted to not having evidence while opening investigations, and that seems to be a political motivation to do so. And to my understanding, that is not supposed to be allowed at the Department of Justice. But what do I know? I'm no former U.S. attorney who once propped up a guy like Bill Barr, like our friend Jim. Love you, Jim. So if this was to somehow insulate him from any sort of legal exposure, doing this interview at the Atlantic, I don't think it served its purposes in that regard.
I don't think that's testimony under oath. The only testimony under oath that I remember Bill Barr given was during his Senate confirmation hearings, when he avoided the very direct questions from then Senator Kamala Harris. As the president ever suggested that you investigate any of his political opponents. I think it was something along those lines. And he hemmed and he hawed. But
I'm having trouble with what you mean by suggest. Inferred, implied.
And
Kamala
today,
Harris
my
owned him.
understanding is, sorry to interrupt that.
Yeah.
The Trump org had to make a legal response or face indictments coming out of New York. That's the Trump org. That's not Donald Trump, the human being. He's just the namesake of the Trump org that's run by his family. And, Weisselman, the guy they're trying to get to flip on the boss. Come back, more Devil's Advocate. Don't flip that dial. We'll be right back.
I don't think we are wrong.
A bit snitty.
I didn't say that very artfully.
Give me a break.
One break coming up.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hungered in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join Move On's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
The tear gas changed the crowd's demeanor. There was an air of disbelief as people realized that the police whom they supported were firing on them. "What are you doing? We support you," someone yelled. All of a sudden, pro-police people felt the police were attacking them, and they didn't know why. The pro-police crowd went from disbelief and confusion to anger.
The police instigated the crowd, right? The police were the oppressors here? So, Ron, Black Lives Matter?
I don't know, but I'm suspicious. Listen to Devil's Advocates weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
bring it? Oh, it's already been brought in. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open for your take as always at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, with the fine guest before, John Nichols didn't nominate or award the D-Bag of the Day. I'd like to throw some nominees out there now.
I think it is totally appropriate to do so.
Now, we referenced this gentleman, air quotes, Derek Van Orden. He was a congressional candidate against Ron Kind out of La Crosse. And 2 months after the Republican congressional candidate, Derek Van Orden, lost his 2020 race, he joined the Stop the Steal rioters on the grounds of the U.S. Capitol.
Yeah.
And he paid for the trip with donor money left over from his failed campaign. Now Van Orden's running again and has already scored major endorsements from senior GOP House leadership, including Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Van Orden, a former Navy SEAL and small-time actor. There are no small actors, just small parts, right, Brian?
You can make those small parts something. Just add a little spit to it.
Van Orden has previously acknowledged attending the January 6th rally. He's calling it a rally, Dom, but has repeatedly claimed he never entered the Capitol grounds.
No.
However, social media posts from the riot suggest that isn't true. Oh, there he is, Dom. A Facebook image from January 6th shows Van Orden standing on the wall of the Capitol grounds that was inside a restricted area. As for Van Orden's campaign expenses surrounding January 6th, it's unclear how they relate to Van Orden's attendance. The Federal Election Commission's regulations state that travel expenses must be directly related to the campaign. Van Orden, who wrote off roughly $4,000 in transportation and D.C. hotel costs for him, his wife, and a campaign staffer. At least he brought the campaign staffer. That was the cover fire.
Yep.
Wonder if they got their own hotel room. Lost his race in November and didn't declare his 2022 candidacy until April. That'd be after the insurrectionist acts, right, Dom? Jordan Libowitz, communications director for the Campaign Finance Watchdog, there they are again, the Crew Group, questioned the legitimacy of the expenses. Campaign accounts are not personal slush funds. They must be used for campaign-related activities. Attempting to overthrow an election you lost is not a proper campaign activity.
Are you sure?
If he did use his campaign to pay for travel for him and his staff to attend the rally turned insurrection, it would raise serious questions about his compliance with campaign finance laws. Derek Van Orden of La Crosse will be in your town tomorrow, sir. Derek, I nominate you for D-Bag of the Day.
D-Bag of the Day.
A fine nominee, Crudy, but I have one here. It's a crowd favorite, Wisconsin's U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. According to thehill.com, Johnson on Saturday, now this would have been what, at the state GOP convention, Johnson on Saturday urged his fellow Republicans to, quote, take back local government positions in order to, quote, take back our culture. Take back our culture? He made this in a speech to the Wisconsin GOP convention where his presence was met with applause and chants of 6 more years, the Cap Times reported. The senator bemoaned what he characterized as the Republican Party neglecting local offices in favor of federal positions. Take back our school boards, our county boards, our city councils. We will take back our culture. We don't have to fear this anymore. Johnson said, according to the Times, he advocated for trickle-up elections. The Times reported that Johnson, who has not announced a run for re-election in 22, also used his address to take aim at Democratic politicians, criticizing them for their repeated calls for social change, while also acknowledging that the U.S. is not perfect. A quote from Rojo: the leaders of the left talk about fundamentally transforming this nation. Do you even like, much less love, something you want to fundamentally transform? Johnson asked the crowd. America's not perfect. We had that original sin of slavery, but we've made progress. We've continually improved. That's not good enough for the left. So for Ron Johnson, taking his opportunity at the Wisconsin GOP state convention, imploring his fellow Republicans to take back our culture, whatever the hell that means. Rojo, you're a D-bag.
D-bag.
Don't ask me to get inside the mind of a liberal, progressive, socialist, Marxist.
I won't ask that of you, Ron, just to walk away, sir. Just walk away, Ron. It's time. I got one more. And he's a Giuliani, but not Rudy. Andrew Giuliani. You remember the Sun outrage that they would, be looking into dad's malfeasance, take his law license, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Well, the Sun is running for the governor of the great state of New York, right? And there's some new polling out. Andrew Giuliani's campaign for governor was dealt a blow Monday after it was revealed he lost the New York Republican gubernatorial straw poll. Despite boasting 5 decades of experience, the 35-year-old Giuliani received 0 supporters in the straw poll, which questions Republican county leaders. Giuliani promoted a poll Sunday saying that he was winning the campaign. The survey results of 587 Republican statewide performed by Triton Polling and Research, blah, 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 shows Giuliani with a backing of 35% of Republicans compared to 27% for his opponent, Zeldin, an 8-point lead with 6% support for another candidate and 0.6% of voters undecided, the report said. But apparently that is different than the Republican straw poll that found him with 0.0% support.
0.0.
The last candidate that I can think of that brought a 0.0% support, Scott Walker, when he was running for president, didn't even make it to the Iowa caucuses because he was polling 0.0, much like my nominee for the D-bag of the day.
And the winner. I'm down with the winner, man. Give it to him.
Andrew Giuliani, your 0.0% rating earns you D-bag of the day.
D-bag of the day.
That's a major award.
I didn't think anyone could top Wanker's futility as a presidential candidate, but Andrew Giuliani's doing a hell of a job.
Now, I don't think that if you get elected as governor that you get absolute immunity. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
how about pardonability for the old man? Can I pardon the old man?
Right.
Can I let him off the hook? Can I give him back his law license?
Please?
He's still paying mom the child support. I'm still looking for a piece of that money. Do you think it's like trickle down allowance for Andrew? Most of his campaign contributions comes from Giuliani's delinquent child support payments. In no small part, apparently, Giuliani worked for Trump, pro bono, if you will, because he was trying to avoid paying his ex-wife any sort of separate maintenance. I hope that worked out okay for Giuliani, because I'm sure Trump will reimburse him after the fact.
100% correct.
If you're listening on AM 950, Matt McNeil is next. The rest of you, a fine guest, Michael Johnson from the Boys and Girls Club of Dane County. Stick around. The happy hour is upon us.
Sorry, folks, park's closed. The moose out front should have told you.
This isn't very nice, is it?
It's a major award.
It's a 4th of July special pricing at Crazy Lenny's e-bikes. Listen to this.
E-bikes are just $844. E-bikes with a 30-mile range, just $844. E-bikes with a 2-year warranty, just $844. 7-speed e-bikes, just $844.
You gotta see this e-bike. 3 power levels now, just $844.
For 3 days only until 3 p.m., 4th of July.
No one's got a bigger selection, and we have the lowest prices in the nation. Crazy Lenny's e-bikes.
President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join MoveOn's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
You are listening to WTTN Columbus, W224EG Madison, always streaming at doubleradio927.com.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. It's a long, difficult process going through the rubble, looking for survivors of the collapsed condo in Surfside, Florida.
Floor by floor. We're talking about pulverized concrete. We're talking about steel.
151 people are missing. 10 people have died. Assistant Fire Chief Ray Jadala says there is a misunderstanding to think the search and rescue operation should wrap up.
In the end, there's numerous variables and facts. It's not based on opinions. It's not based on time. It's not based on, a specific area you just happen to see on TV that went down. It's based on variables and facts.
Some family members of the missing have been visiting the site. The AP has learned the Manhattan District Attorney's Office met today with lawyers from the Trump Organization to hear an 11th hour pitch as to why prosecutors shouldn't go forward and ask a grand jury to bring charges. The AP's Jim Mustian reports there has been a 2-year investigation into the Trump Organization's finances.
There's even been speculation that Trump himself might face charges as prosecutors examined whether the Trump Org lied about the value of real estate holdings to lower taxes or obtain bank loans.
Such final exchanges are considered formalities that rarely change the course of an investigation in the late stage, suggesting the grand jury is near a vote. The Supreme Court rejected a Virginia school board's appeal to reinstate a transgender bathroom ban. The court also refused to allow New Hampshire to sue neighboring Massachusetts over an income tax dispute involving people who have been working from home in New Hampshire for a Massachusetts company during the pandemic. There is severe flooding in the Detroit area. Mayor Mike Duggan says it's not over.
We have seen rain projected in the coming days, and we're committed to making sure that Michiganders will have the peace of mind to know that the help that they need will be available to them.
Sections of Interstate 94 are closed for a third day. A record close for the NASDAQ. The Dow lost 150 points. This is AP News.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
For more than 65 years, Bachman Construction has worked to build a quality foundation in the Madison community. Our family's tradition has been to exceed our clients' expectations since 1954. Combining time-honored techniques with innovative technologies, Bachman Construction continues to offer our families 3 generations of experience for your next project. Quality is our foundation. Give Bachman Construction a call and let us know how we can create a better value for your space today.
You're an experienced roofer starting your day at dawn. It's hard work. Are you being paid what you're worth? Do you have a safe job site, healthcare, a pension? The roofers and waterproofers, Local 11 contractors pay a living wage so you can support your family and someday retire with dignity. Local 11 is looking for roofers in the Madison and Janesville area. Change your life. Join Local 11. Call Travis at 608-921-7207 or apply at rooferslocal11.org.
Knucklehead CBD and Vapes are one-stop shop for everything you need. Knucklehead strives to be the safest place in Madison. Forgot a mask? No problem. We got one for you. Stuck at home or in a hurry? Call us at 608-284-0151 and schedule a pickup or delivery. Check out our ever-growing online store at knuckleheadcbd.com and get something shipped right to your door. We love sales at Knucklehead, so make sure to check out our social media for all of our daily deals. Shop is open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. Knucklehead CBD and Vapes, 550 State Street. I'm Lando Commando, and I'll see you there.
Hi, I'm Ryan from Downdrans Distilling. We're a small batch craft distillery in the heart of Cottage Grove. Downdrans Distilling offers live music in our giant cocktail garden, along with a kids' playground and tasting room. We produce a variety of spirits from cherry rum to a spicy pepper vodka. I invite you to have your next cocktail at Downdrans Distilling. 300 Progress Drive, Cottage Grove. Please like us on Facebook and visit downdransdistilling.com for updates and specials. Can't wait to see you at Downdrans Distilling.
Must be 21 or older to purchase alcohol.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. 2 aldermen and Madison Mayor Rhodes Conway will propose to close tax incremental financing, or TIF, district number 25 beginning next fall. Many attribute the district as the reason for much of the economic development that occurred around Capitol Square over the past several decades. The proposal that will be introduced next week will close the TIF district in fall of 2022 and leave roughly a $30 million surplus to be split between the City of Madison, Dane County, the Madison School District, and Madison Area Technical College. The tax surplus will also direct nearly $5 million towards affordable housing. Forecasts of clouds and scattered thunderstorms throughout the day, with winds up to 10 miles an hour and a 60% chance for rain. High today of 79 degrees. Chance of rain and thunderstorms increases to 70% this evening with an overnight low of 69 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the 4 o'clock Monday happy hour. Dom, the party rolls on. We're hoping to be joined in this segment by Michael Johnson from the Boys and Girls Club of Dane County, doing lots of good work. They got a new event they want to announce on July 17th. It's not just the Get Moving event, it's also a white party. You just got to wear white. You don't have to be white, apparently, Dom. For clarification, in case there's any Republicans listening.
Good to know.
But Dom, Rojo, Ron Johnson, the Wisconsin senator, America's senator, really Trump's favorite senator at this point, he faces a bit of backlash. He did a press conference today, and he had a bunch of people who claim they've had negative side effects from the COVID-19 vaccine. And the purpose of this little press conference, of course, is to cast aspersions on science and medical technology. And it was hosted on a website apparently called Rumble. And I was unfamiliar with the Rumble, but I followed the links from the Johnson press release. And apparently when you go on the Rumble page, Dom, it tells you, this is sort of the site for alternative medical stuff where you go if you want people just to believe you. Please believe me. It's kind of the please believe me site.
Wow.
Now being utilized by U.S. Senator Ron Johnson to, disseminate.
Well, I'm surprised he didn't just do it on YouTube. I mean, his 1 week ban must be up by now, right?
Well, you got to be careful, Dom, because this was the very topic that got him thrown off of YouTube. Bill Glauber and others reporting at the Journal Sentinel updated about 10 minutes ago. Facing a backlash that he was presenting misleading medical information, Republican U.S. Senator Ron Johnson defended his Monday news conference in which 5 people disclosed that they had serious side effects from the COVID-19 vaccine. After detailed and at times emotional statements from the participants assembled at the federal courthouse in Milwaukee, Johnson said, "You witnessed those stories? ? Do you think that's a reckless and irresponsible?" He added, pushing back at a jibe from Governor Tony Evers. "I think it's called compassion. I think it's shown concern for your fellow human beings who have stepped up." They stepped up just like Rojo's trying to do, Dom. Johnson, who tested positive for COVID-19 last year, but has not taken the vaccine, insisted that he was not trying to sow doubt about the vaccine. To a person, we're all pro-vaccine, Johnson said. He acknowledged that more than 300 million doses of the vaccine have been given in the U.S. For the vast majority of people, the vaccine has been administered with little or no side effects. But let me find the exceptions to the rule and give them a platform and try to defend my misstatements and misinformation with these fine people and their emotional pleas. Dom, looks like we've been joined by our fine guests. Let's not delay any further. Michael Johnson, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates, Executive Director, Boys and Girls Club of Dane County. Michael, always happy when you come around, fella.
Hey, Michael.
Hey, my title is actually Chief Maintenance Officer. Chief Maintenance Officer.
Oh, that's the same title Dominic holds.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man.
Michael, let's talk about the big event coming up. A couple big events coming up on July 17th. When you and I talked recently, and it's been a month or so, you were concerned that not enough people were participating in the Get Moving event on July 17th, both a walk and a biking event this year. And we got Crazy Lenny to throw in some e-bikes, one for a participant, one for a sponsor. And Michael, I got to ask you, how is the fundraising going? How are the pledges going? Are people going to participate this year?
Man, it's going extremely well. It seemed like after we, did that promo spot on your radio station, the momentum just really, really picked up. So to all your listeners, thank you for tuning in. We saw the contributions coming in from folks listening to your station. We have about 450 people registered. Our goal is to have 1,000 people out there. Our goal is to raise $1 million. As you know, we just announced that we're going to build a regional workforce center where we want to teach kids how to become plumbers, carpenters, electricians. And people have been talking about this in this community for a long time. And so we're ready to move on and to work with groups like Habitat for Humanity, the Urban League, Operation Fresh Start. We just hired today a full-time director that's going to work with the schools, and hopefully, around this time next year, we'll have a new state-of-the-art facility in Fitchburg that will serve kids all over Dane County. So this event that we're having on the 17th, I would just encourage people to go to move4bgc.com and register to run, walk, bike, either 5 miles, 10 miles, 25 or 50 miles. And I'm very thankful. We've had over 2,000 people contribute so far. We've raised $897,000, and so we still have another $103,000 to go. And so if you're tuning in, whether it's $2 or $100,000, we want to make sure that we hit this goal. Since the last time we was on this call, a gentleman by the name of John McKenzie from McKenzie Apartment Companies are donating purchase the building for Boys and Girls Clubs. Pleasant Rowland made a $5 million gift to help us build an endowment and to help with the construction costs. And then the $1 million that we're raising is going to go towards the donor who bought the building said, I'll buy it, but I want the community to step up and match it. And so we're $103,000 away. And so if somebody feels compelled to give, I hope they will. And then finally, and Mike, I hope you'll come out and dance with us that same night on the property itself. We're having an all-white party. And let me just say this. A lot of people in Madison don't know what white parties are. This people of color, this is an inclusive party for everybody. So somebody sent me a note like, Mike, I'm really disappointed that you're having a party for all white people. I'm like, nah, dude, we asking everybody to wear white. And so it's going to be a live band, music, entertainment, food, and I'm hoping it'll be outside, so there'll be tents there. It's going to be, I think, the unbelievable party for this community, and I'm just really looking forward to it. And I appreciate you and Crazy Lenny for donating those bikes. I think we're well on our way, and we're only $100,000 away from hitting our goal.
And Michael, I was very impressed by some of the individual riders that have been lining up donors. I mean, thousands and thousands of dollars of pledges. These people have obviously put a real effort, not just into participating, but into making fundraising part of their activity. And they're doing so with great success. So individuals can have tremendous impact if they're willing to ask some of their friends to step up. I'm looking at you, Salvia.
I love it. Let me tell you, that's such a great point, right? When I think about the people that's raised, I think about Peter Gray, who started his own a company doing executive searches. He's one of our top riders, right? So I think he's raised personally $10,000 to support this effort. The CEO of Oregon Tools raised $16,000. I think about Downtown Madison Eat. That organization raised $11,000. Thad Shoemaker over at Fitchburg Family Pharmacy, his organization has raised $10,000. The Foley and Lautner, their team has 41 members registered and raised over $7,000. Corey Chambers, who's the CEO of First Business Bank, single-handedly sent out an email and raised $5,700. And so all it takes sometimes is just sending out an email, let people know that you're riding for charity, and you'll be surprised at the number of people who will step up. And this is not something that I see that's going to benefit Boys and Girls Club. This is going to make this community better, right? And so there's kids who will graduate from high school, which we've helped over 5,000 kids over the last 5 years graduate from high school and go on to college. But there's kids who will not graduate from high school or will graduate and not go to college. And we have to create a pathway for them. And this is another pathway a pathway and an opportunity for them to come out of high school. The average skilled trade worker makes $42,000, in Dane County. And so we want to be able to create this facility where we can teach kids how to weld, how to become carpenters and plumbers and electricians, and work with the career and technical education staff in the schools to create these opportunities. But we need to build up. I want to see this program around beyond my lifetime and beyond your lifetime. And the only way you do that, you build a world-class facility, you build a strong endowment, you restrict that endowment to fund this initiative, and hopefully we'll be successful. And we're going to give it everything that we got to make sure that we're investing in kids and we're encouraging others to do so.
Michael, you and I spoke recently, and I've been very supportive of your efforts because you set big goals. You don't talk aspirationally and say, I hope someday to do this. You set big goals and then you go achieve those goals. And obviously you don't do it alone, Michael. You got lots and lots of helpers and lots of generous people from this community. And when you brag about the generosity of a local donor, I'm encouraged by that because I know there's someone listening right now that their corporation is looking for a good partnership, and I can't think of a better one than the Boys and Girls Club of Dane County, because you're actually doing tangible things for the benefit of the people that live here. So, Michael, keep it up, man, and give them the website one more time. Our fair audience, they're very generous. They want to help. They want to participate. They want to pledge. Where do they go, Michael?
Yeah, I would say just go to Google and just put Move for BGC, and then the whole website come up. And then I just want to also encourage your listeners that, if you have a small business, that people should be taking out ads with you, right? I don't think we would be at the goal that we're at now if you didn't help utilize this platform to support kids in our community. So I'm very, very thankful for that.
Well, Michael, you've got our support. We've got your back. Don't forget the big white event also. And you don't have to be white to attend. You just got to wear it. Michael Johnson, thank you so much. More Devils will be back.
This is Chad Spate. Are you thinking about improving or expanding your home? At Chad's Design Build, we're committed to making your home comfortable, healthy, attractive, durable, and sustainable. In fact, those commitments spell our name. And we deliver these services with our outstanding team of professionals who will respect you and your home. Visit our website at chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more about how we are building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
It's the 4th of July special pricing at Crazy Lenny's e-bikes. Listen to this.
E-bikes are just $844. E-bikes with a 30-mile range, just $844. E-bikes with a 2-year warranty, just $844. 7-speed e-bikes, just $844.
You gotta see this e-bike. 3 power levels, now just $844.
For 3 days only until 3 p.m., 4th of July.
No one's got a bigger selection, and we have the lowest prices in the nation. Crazy Lenny's e-bikes.
Hi, this is Gordy from Kopke's Greenhouse near Oregon, Wisconsin. For over 35 years, gardeners have been coming out to our farm for their vegetables and flowering plants. We invite you to escape from the city and enjoy the beauty of Mother Nature's bounty. You can get our hours and directions from our website, kopkesgreenhouse.com. That's Kopkes greenhouse.com. From all the families that rely on your support, we say thank you.
Boys and Girls Clubs of Dane County need your help. Our annual bike event is scheduled for July 17th. We need hundreds of individual riders and donors to encourage participation in pledges. We will be giving away 2 Crazy Lenny electric bikes, 1 e-bike for a participant and 1 for individual that pledges to support a rider. Come ride for the Boys and Girls Club or make a pledge at bgcdc.org.
In time, you will know the true power of Devil Radio 92.7. It is your destiny.
The Devil's Advocates, because it's always 420 somewhere.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open for your take at 844-967-2789. Matt Rothschild, Batman from Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, going to join us at the bottom of the hour.
Coming in the broadcast bunker 2.0. Well, want to thank our most recent guest, even though, he phoned it in, but we still love Michael Johnson from the Boys and Girls Club here of Dane County. They got so many good things going on, and we encourage you support the big event coming up July 17th, the Get Moving event, where you can either bike ride or walk, and you're encouraged to get pledges. And in fact, if you sign up as either a pledger or a sponsor, you're eligible to win a crazy Lenny's electric bike. So very excited.
A nice bike, too. This isn't the bottom of the barrel bike.
Oh, Lenny doesn't even have bottom of the barrel bikes. So Lenny was a generous contributor, and we appreciate all the people, especially our audience members. We know that many of them have signed up, and we encourage those. If you've been thinking about it, do it. Just do it. It's for a good cause.
It's for a great cause. And Michael Johnson and his personality and his leadership is so contagious. You can't help you to talk to him. His heart's in it, in what he does. And as you mentioned, very effective, setting big goals and meeting those goals. A wonderful human being, and we wish him all the best, and we encourage everyone to support them.
I keep talking to Mike about opportunities to, give kids jobs in radio, but he's talking about well-paying jobs like welder, radio jobs less so. But, maybe we'll work it out, a couple interns or something. But we really support the Boys and Girls Club. And the party that night, that's not a big fundraiser. That's more of a community get-together and celebrate the accomplishment and the big event that day. Yeah. The white party is more of a party than a fundraiser per se, but tickets on sale now. We encourage you, attend both events. Make it a whole day out of it. So anyways, thank you, Michael Johnson. Looking forward to Matt Rothschild. I heard Batman scurrying in the lobby before, so I know he's coming soon. But Dominic, gotta tell you, I was more than troubled when I heard at the Republican State Convention this weekend that Robin Voss has announced the Republican attorney to oversee the election investigation.
No, the Keystone Cop investigation. Yeah, they picked out their leader. Who is it, Crudy?
Michael Gableman. Disgraced former Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman.
Oh, that
who
guy.
Just happened to be in attendance at the Republican convention because he's a partisan in the first place, Dom. He said, something to the effect, I paraphrase the quote by Gableman, on the last 10 years at the Supreme Court, he was trying to stop evil.
Oh, is that what he's doing?
Something about stopping evil.
Oh, so he's like Blues Brothers. He's on a mission from God.
Yes, he would see it.
Journal Sentinel reported just a quote here from something he said. Gableman, former disgraced Wisconsin Supreme Court justice, told a crowd at a pro-Trump rally staged on November 7th in Milwaukee, "I don't think anyone here can think of anything more systematically unjust than a stolen election." Already laying down the groundwork. back in November. And this guy is going to lead the other partisan hacks that are looking into what? Election irregularities?
Well, do you remember when Gableman got elected in the first place? He ran that Willie Horton style ad against Butler.
Terrible ad, yes.
And then refused to recuse himself when his own law firm came before the court. Gableman, I mean, he is ethically challenged on a number of levels. There's a reason they didn't run him off for re-election. He was unelected.
It's funny because he's fat.
It wasn't because he's fat. It's because he's corrupt.
Voss announced the hire of former Justice Michael Gableman at the state Republican convention in the Dells, though Gableman argued the review is not a partisan effort. Oh, okay. So he's going to remove his partisan hat, Gableman, and conduct this review.
If it wasn't a partisan effort, why did they roll it out at the GOP convention?
What we're after is fairness and honesty.
I think he being Voss was just trying to cover his ass, man. Didn't like the fact that Donald Trump is taking press release pot shots at him. Oh, some staffer must have misinformed him. Truly, I am a bootlicker here in Wisconsin for Trump. We propagate the big lie here. We're pushing an audit. We're pushing an investigation. And hell, I hired a corrupted former Wisconsin Supreme Court justice to head it all up. If that doesn't show just how committed Robin Voss is to carrying forth the big lie, Dom, I don't know what is.
Shay Sortwell for Assembly Speaker. Molly Beck from the Journal Sentinel a couple of days ago. Resolution calls for resolution being brought forward at the GOP convention to call on Speaker Robin Voss's resignation. The resolution says Voss should resign or that the Assembly lawmakers should call for a vote of no confidence in Voss in order to eject him. Apparently, the resolution, according to Molly Beck, also calls on Assembly lawmakers who refuse to vote Voss out of the Speaker's role to resign themselves or face primary elections. Apparently, Molly said the resolution has been indefinitely postponed.
And they were pushing forth Shay Sortwell as the new speaker?
I'm pushing forth Shay Sortwell as the speaker, man.
I mean, wouldn't the mullet man, the former convicted guy, Steineke, your buddy Steineke, wouldn't he be next in line?
Maybe, but Sortwell's like the perfect sort of Trumpy. Like, I mean, he's a believer in the stolen thing. That's my impression anyway. That he's down, like not just giving lip service to the big lie. Like Sortwell is my impression. He's down. He believes it, man.
I was just in it for his constituents, Tom.
That's okay. So many constituents, so little time. Let's put up another Christmas tree.
Remember when I was at the Stop the Steal rally? Sortwell was one of the speakers at the big event, and Branchin, and don't forget the guy from Greenville,
Your buddy Murphy, yeah.
The fact that Robin Voss would not encourage them or hell fly with them out to Arizona to observe the fraud. Well, that just means Voss has got to go. Come back, Matt Rothschild. He's Batman. He's in studio with me next.
He called me fat and said I was going to die on the toilet.
Kind of grabs you by the boo-boo, don't it?
Quit surfing the dial. You already found the greatest radio station ever, Devil Radio, on 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Hey folks, Patrick here from Pegasus Games, here to remind you that we're open for all your at-home gaming needs, both online at pegasusgames.com or in-store from noon to 6, with extended hours on Saturday and Sunday morning from 10 a.m. to noon for high-risk customers. From our new line of puzzles to pass the time, to the perfect board game to reconnect with family and friends. Walk-ins welcome or curbside pickup available over the phone or online at pegasusgames.com. Pegasus Games, home to games you never outgrow.
Devil Radio is kicking off the summer of love, and you're going to want to get your share.
Oh, God.
With live events, soirees, and sponsor receptions.
Devil's Triangle.
Beginning in May. Why wait? Come get your love from our adoring audience now.
Oh, crap.
Lock in your summer loving advertising package, and your spring fling is guilt-free.
And yada, yada, yada.
New Devil Radio Lovers ads play in May for free with no charge for production. Come get your love only on Devil Radio.
Oh, crap.
Search continues. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. 10 people are known dead, more than 150 others still missing since a 12-story condo collapsed last Thursday in a beachside town near Miami. Sections of flooded I-94 remain closed to Detroit following 8 inches of rain in the area. Homes were flooded when a pumping station went offline after a power failure. Governor Gretchen Whitmer says something has to be done.
It showed us what we already know. Our aging infrastructure needs upgrades and repairs.
In the Northwest and Northeast, it's the heat. A third straight all-time record high expected today in Portland, Oregon, which could top 114 degrees. It reached 95 in the other Portland, Maine. After a slight dip, gas prices are inching up just ahead of the 4th of July holiday weekend. GasBuddy.com reports the national average price per gallon rose 2.5 cents. It's just about a nickel higher than a month ago. I'm Tim McGuire.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. President Joe Biden will be traveling to La Crosse on Tuesday. The official announcement on Sunday evening did not include many details, except that the president will be in the area to talk about his bipartisan infrastructure plan his administration is pursuing with Congress. Tune in to the Devil's Advocates radio show for special coverage from La Crosse of the president's visit. According to the Legislative Fiscal Bureau, a tax cut Republicans in the Wisconsin legislature are pursuing could lead to a $45 million a year tax break for railroad companies. GOP lawmakers are proposing the elimination of the personal property tax, which requires most businesses to pay for their equipment and furniture. The proposal would cost the state $200 million a year and leave a loophole for railroad companies to sue and be included in the tax exemption, costing the state an additional $45 million a year. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Grass-fed, locally raised, 100% organic. Dom and Croce are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. I got an admission, Dominic. I got the hiccups. I'm not even cabloozling yet. I got a little preview of tomorrow's show. Crudy has the hiccups in the happy hour. Well, I'm happy to announce I've been joined by a friend. He can do most of the talking now. He is Batman, Matt Rothschild from the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Matt, welcome back to the Broadcast Bunker 2.0.
Hey, Crudy, it's great to be here. Great to see you. Great to see Dom by remote. You guys
Hey,
doing
thanks,
well?
Matt. Awesome, man. Thanks for joining us once again, my friend.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
We are in the midst of the summer of love, Matt, so life's pretty good. Let me ask you about the weekend. I took a little glee and the former president taking a pot shot at Robin Voss, Devin LeBayhew, and Chris Kapinga for not being sufficiently conspiratorial, I guess.
Even worse, I mean, he said they were actually working hard to cover up election corruption in Wisconsin.
That's a cover-up.
Yeah, they're part of the cover-up. Robin Voss evidently not sufficiently yelling the big lie from the highest treetops in Wisconsin for the big liar himself.
And man, I found it hilarious that Robin Voss felt it very important to defend himself as a proper bootlicker.
Yeah, he quickly issued a press release with Lemmy Hugh saying, actually, we've been doing everything we can to foment the big lie among Wisconsinites and investigate every which way, but whatever, loose.
Now, Matt, I take no great issue with the Legislative Audit Bureau, the nonpartisan Legislative Audit Bureau, doing some sort of post-election audit, if you must. But that's the right organization to do a nonpartisan audit. But I do take quite a bit of issue with these cops that Robin Voss is hiring, former cops, partisan cops, for what, like $3,500 a month each. And now he's found an attorney to head it all up. And I couldn't think of a worse choice. The very corrupted former Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice, Michael Gableman. I mean, you could have put names in a hat and come up with a better choice than Gableman. This guy is the worst of the worst amongst partisans.
Yeah, I kept wondering who the lawyer to be named later was going to be in this thing.
Right.
It turns out to be Michael Gableman.
Was Essenberg busy?
Right, exactly. Will had other things going on.
Well, Essenberg's busy making some serious money from the Bradley Foundation by going into court every other day to sue Evers or to sue the Democrats or to sue on these ballot box issues. But Gableman, I mean, you're right to call him a corrupt justice. The most corrupt thing I think he did was to sit in on the John Doe 2 case and to let Walker off the hook after Walker had violated our campaign finance laws here in Wisconsin by working hand in glove with some of the outside groups in raising money for himself and for the Republican Party of Wisconsin to beat back the recalls, you'll remember. So in the summer of 2015, Gableman's on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And before him is the special prosecutor who's going after Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce and Wisconsin Club for Growth, who are working with Walker. And they dismissed the John Doe 2 case on a ridiculous interpretation of the First Amendment. And Gableman shouldn't even been sitting on the case because what did he get from Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce when he was running for election? $1,760,000 he benefited from expenditures from WMC. And
back in 2008, that was a hell of a lot of money for a state Supreme Court race.
Ton of money. And Wisconsin Club for Growth, another group that the special prosecutor was looking at, gave him a crisp $500,000 in expenditures on his behalf.
Why would you recuse? In the words of Prosser, who also chose not to recuse, those donations came more than a year ago.
Right, that's old news, man.
Oh, it's just serious money. And Gableman was in a real close race, defeated Lewis Butler, the first African-American to serve on the Wisconsin Supreme Court, and in just a disgusting campaign, as you pointed out, Crudy, a couple minutes ago. And so here you have Gableman speaking to the Republican state convention over the weekend saying, oh, I got a lot of friends here. It's great to see all these friends. And then he says, you know, you guys are right not to let bygones be bygones about the November 3rd election. This is where we draw the line, he says.
What? Right? What, man? Well, this is where we draw the line. Former Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice, Republican hack, now on the payroll of Robin Voss, looking into election irregularities, Matt. I mean, based on what? And this is what really bothers me. And I know, Crudy, you give some deference to the Legislative Audit Bureau, because if there's going to be something that perhaps they're the ones to do it. But that aside, based on what evidence? You know what I'm saying? The fact that we're even going down these roads, Matt, without any specific allegations or evidence of fraud. I mean, why even go through the exercise? The fact that we have a legitimate Legislative Audit Bureau investigation or review, however they're describing it, gives, I think, credibility and credence to this big lie, Matt. What's your take?
It's all fueling the big lie. And that's the joke about criticizing Voss, because Voss, you know, he told the Legislative Audit Bureau to do its thing. On top of that, he had the legislative campaign committees run a couple, kangaroo hearings there where only the people from the far right talk radio and other far right lawyers could testify. No one else could testify. He got rid of Ron Tussler, who was someone who was leading the campaign committee, and he put Janelle Brangen in charge of that.
Moderates got to go. I got just the right lady to replace him.
I mean, it's just been, he's been doing all he can to placate his own what I call the wacko caucus that he's got to deal with there.
But he's quiet about it. You know, Matt, I think maybe that's the thing. I mean, you know, Robin Vos isn't screaming it from the rooftops in doing this. He's doing these kinds of moves that are only going to be really seen by those who pay very close attention, right? So a guy like Trump doesn't see, you know, big fights going on in the state houses, so he doesn't think anything's going on. But apparently, Matt, he was just misinformed. Let me, I mean, but no matter what comes out of this, though, man, it's like the Cyber Ninja CEO and what's going on at the fraud in Arizona. No matter what comes out, you cannot believe the words that they're going to tell us. Same with this. You got partisans in charge of the process, at least as it pertains to Gableman and these three other cops that are going to be, you know, looking into every allegation. So, folks, if you got some allegations, make sure you let them know. But this is how do we believe? I mean, we can't. The system, the process is so tainted and partisan already. I'm not going to believe anything that the cyber ninjas or Gableman tells me as a result of their fraud.
No, and they're just, you know, feeding their base this toxic red meat, and we saw the results of feeding your base toxic red meat on January 6th. That's how a fraction of that base reacts on that diet. But look, it's kind of a no-win situation because every time they use the F word, the fraud word, even if there's no basis for it, you know, it soothes the, you know, the minds of the people who want to believe that there was something wrong, shenanigans, as Voss put it, or something worse. And so, you know, it's just disgusting what Republicans are doing, including Voss. And especially Trump. But to me, this is a prelude to Republicans eating their own. And I think they're going to end up knocking Voss off eventually because he's not going to be sufficiently, you know, screaming at the top of his lungs about the fraud. I mean, he made the mistake when those Brangen wackos were going to Arizona to suggest maybe they shouldn't go, and maybe what are they looking for? Bamboo on the ballots, he was joking.
Right.
And they got really furious at him for even suggesting that there wasn't foundation for them to go to Arizona and look at the fraud at there. I mean, that's what he's dealing with, and I hate to have sympathy or pity for Robin Voss. My God,
don't.
I mean, he has been the biggest, except for Walker, the biggest water boy for Wisconsin manufacturers and commerce and the big business interests in Wisconsin, more than anybody else. And he has led, you know, this attack on our democracy that we're suffering from. And yet it's just not enough. And there's this insatiable appetite on the right that you've got to be so far out there or we're not going to be on your side. If you dare to question anything that the big liar says, you're no good for us and you got to be thrown overboard, thrown to the wolves.
Man, I'm quite enjoying watching Robin Voss squirm before the Cheeto Messiah. But let me ask you, somebody had to drop a dime on Robin Voss, as was pointed out by John Nichols before. Robin Voss isn't on the top of Donald Trump's know the Republican list, probably. So how did he name these three strange backbenchers who are only famous here in the state of Wisconsin for their malfeasance? How would he have known about Devin LeMahieu, Chris Kapinga, and Robin Voss unless a local put a bug in his ear?
Shea Sortwell.
Well, you know, I'm sure his staff has connections in Wisconsin, and that someone ratted out Voss. And I do believe that Trump was still angry that the Republican slate of bogus electors weren't the ones that the state of Wisconsin during the Electoral College was trying to put forward, that Voss didn't do enough even way back then. I mean, this is a guy, if we know anything about him, he holds a grudge, and he wanted those ballots at the Electoral College thrown out, and Voss didn't do enough then.
Wisconsin is still on the Trump hit list. Over the course of the weekend, he put out a press release talking about how he got Scrooged in every single state. In Wisconsin, it was the loophole on voter IDs with the indefinitely confined absentee ballots. And I believe I saw the Wisconsin Supreme Court, again by a 4-3 ruling with Hagedorn being the lead on this, said that right now they're not going to take up the case of absentee ballot drop boxes and the like in the state of Wisconsin. But apparently, once again, because the Republicans keep trying to skip the steps and go directly to the conservative court of favored appeal.
Yeah, so they threw it out. Hagedorn threw it out. He was the decisive vote in this. He's the swing justice now, both because they wanted to go, directly to the Wisconsin Supreme Court and not deal with lower court. Who needs that hassle? But also because, the claims were the standing, the guy Fabic, the Caterpillar tractor guy, didn't have standing to bring it. There were other legal problems that he couldn't figure out. Or Gableman said, this guy just doesn't have the right to be in court for us to hear this case right now. So there were a lot of problems with the way the case was presented. But again, I'm waiting for Trump to go after Hagedorn now. I mean, someone will leak his name to Trump and out will come another press release.
Gentlemen, if I may, on this very topic, Mitchell Schmidt reporting at the Wisconsin State Journal, the headline, conservative group files lawsuit challenging use of drop boxes in Wisconsin. That would be Wisconsin Law and Liberty filed a lawsuit in Waukesha County Circuit Court challenging the use of absentee ballot drop boxes. Apparently filed the lawsuit on behalf of a couple of locals, Richard Teagan of Heartland, Richard Tom of Menominee Falls. Here's what Will said. Wisconsin voters deserve certainty that elections are conducted fairly and in accordance with state law, while the Wisconsin Elections Commission is giving advice to clerks that is contrary to the law, putting the ballots of countless voters at risk. So perhaps the wrong process, wrong plaintiffs. Last time around, they didn't barely wait a minute. They got another one coming up through the Waukesha County Circuit Court.
Did they have drop boxes in Waukesha County? Because to the best of my knowledge, that happened mostly in Dane and Milwaukee counties. But if you want the right district court outcome, right, you got to go to Waukesha County. But of course, they're going to have a standing issue in Waukesha if, let's say, Judge Brad Schimmel happens to catch that case. But I don't think he's going to hold them accountable for standing. Do you, Matt?
No. And, how many bites at the apple do these guys get? I mean,
as many as it takes.
I guess so. I don't think this is going to get very far either. It's, again, Rick Esenberg at Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty just, beating this dead horse. I mean, they've lost at the Wisconsin Supreme Court several times now on this issue. And it's an issue being legislated in the Capitol right now, where the Republicans have passed bills to say you can only have, one drop box in places under 70,000, and those that have more than 70,000 and most can have 4 drop boxes in the city of Milwaukee and the city of Madison. I mean, that's going to be ridiculous.
Matt, real quick, on behalf of our pal Maggie Dawn, who did a fine job sitting in for Dominic on Friday. She's Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel. She helped negotiate the opiate settlement, AB 384, which is largely supported by Republicans and a few Democrats. But the Attorney General is currently opposed to this. And if you talk to the Milwaukee County Corporate Counsel, and I did on Friday, she says Josh Call has got this completely wrong and that Tony Evers needs to hurry up and sign this before Milwaukee and Dane County get screwed. In this case, the Democrats may misunderstand the issue. Are you familiar at all, man? Maybe we can talk more when we come back. Got Batman in the broadcast bunker 2.0. Maggie Dawn says Tony Evers go sign Assembly Bill 384. Maggie says it. I trust her. Matt Rothschild says it. I trust him. Come back. More Devils.
I think people will do what's right. They don't need a government mandate to do that.
If you're not happy here, you can leave.
I have never been more excited about anything that I have gotten the chance to work on.
You're going to be dead.
We have seen a small increase in deaths, which is a good thing.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
It's the 4th of July special pricing at Crazy Lenny's e-bikes. Listen to this.
E-bikes are just $844. E-bikes with a 30-mile range, just $844. E-bikes with a 2-year warranty, just $844. 7-speed e-bikes, just $844.
You gotta see this e-bike. 3 power levels now, just $844.
For 3 days only until 3 p.m., 4th of July.
No one's got a bigger selection, and we have the lowest prices in the nation. Crazy Lenny's e-bikes.
President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join Move On's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
My name is Rocker, and this is my vodka. Rocker Vodka is distilled right here in Madison, made from corn and gluten-free. Find Rocker Vodka at Woodman's, Festival Foods, Trixie's Liquor, Star Liquor, Steve's Liquor, Willie Street Co-op, Total Wine, Vic Pierce, Miller's Market, Cambridge Cooler. Find more at rockervodka.com. It's yummy. Must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
Hey, it's Pizza Box Mike. I've got a show outside the Pizza Box. Be sure to listen on Saturdays at noon on Devil Radio. There is a reason why they won't let me on Facebook anymore.
Here's how you get them. If they bring a beer, you bring an old-fashioned. If they bring cheese curds, you bring a casserole. That's how you make friends. That's the Wisconsin way. That's Devil Radio.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Last segment of the day. If you got something to say, we can jam your call in at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, this fine show going on the road again tomorrow morning, heading to our old stomping grounds, La Crosse, Wisconsin. It's God's country up there. Hope we have time for a cold beverage or two on 3rd Street. We'll be broadcasting tomorrow from Shooters on 3rd. And the occasion, Joe Biden's coming to Wisconsin. Matt Rothschild here with me in the Madison studios. Matt, let me ask you, Joe Biden coming back to Wisconsin. He was here in February. Really haven't rolled out an itinerary. All I know is him and Tom Vilsack are going to get in a car and go driving around looking for a farm, according to the Journal Sentinel.
Well, they should be able to find
have
one.
to drive far. But what do you think about this as a political move on behalf of Joe Biden?
Well, I think it's important for Biden to come back to Wisconsin, it being so close here. You know, we always faulted Hillary Clinton for not being able to find Wisconsin with GPS and a flashlight. So, you know, it's nice that Biden has given us a little recognition. He understands that the state is, split right down the middle. And so he should be here. And it just, I'm wondering, is he going to run again? He's coming here. The Democrats.
Talking about Biden.
Yeah. Is he?
Absolutely. He's already implied as much, and Ron Klain, his chief of staff, has said as much.
Well, they have to say as much, otherwise he's a lame duck, and he's, people are going to be running around behind his back doing all sorts of nasty things. But it may be that he's preparing for another run, and he needs to get to Wisconsin as often as he can.
Well, that would be a good thought. Some question whether or not Tony Evers would run for re-election. Obviously, at the Democratic Party convention earlier this month, he made his big announcement. So he's in it to win it. But conspicuously, his lieutenant governor, Mandela Barnes, made no such announcement. And apparently Mandela is now hiring some staffers. It's possible that Mandela is going to jump into the senatorial race, hoping to take on Ron Johnson. But what kind of position politically does that leave Tony Evers in without his dynamic lieutenant governor?
Well, I think Tony Evers is well liked by Wisconsinites. His positive rating is above water. And I think he's done a pretty good job here, even with both hands tied behind his back and a gag in his mouth put there by the legislature. I mean, he's had a real hard time. I was actually surprised that he decided to run for re-election, because I remember a quote in the Journal Sentinel where he said, I'll run for re-election if I'm still having a good time. And I don't think he's had a great time in the governor's mansion, actually.
Well, I wouldn't think it's been a party over there at the governor's mansion. So we know that Evers is back in it, and we know that there are Republicans chomping at the bit to take him on. Rebecca Clayfish, probably the most prominent, the former lieutenant governor under Walker. Do you see her as the clear front runner? Do you think she walks away in the primary? I mean, no offense to Bill McCoshen, seems like a nice guy, but he's still a Republican and he's still a lobbyist, not exactly a winning resume as far as I'm concerned. And there are others considering Kevin Nicholson, the guy whose parents maxed out the Tammy Baldwin when he ran for U.S. Senate. That guy's thinking about running because he can't seem to find a real job in this world. But I think Rebecca Clayfish, in all probability, will be the Republican nominee. Here's the question. Can she claim no taint from Trump? Once upon a time, I believe it was 16. She was part of that Women for Trump movement. And her whole claim to fame would be appeal to suburban women. Well, can she both appeal to suburban women and also be a woman for Trump?
Well, I think it's a hard thing for her to kind of referee, and it's hard to win in the Republican primary if you're not pro-Trump. So she's going to sing a pro-Trump tune during the primary, and then she's going to be, what, Trump's gone too far all of a sudden? I didn't know. I mean, it's not a very credible maneuver.
Well, I wonder how she's going to continue the big lie. Dom, I see
but
callers, but I want to give you
we'll get to the
crack.
callers. But also, again, let's remember, I mean, while certainly, the politics never ends and, Rebecca Clayfish will be running, but, Trump's going to have a whole different reality, perhaps a year from now, let alone by the next election, hell, by the end of summer, that perceptions about Trump, even within the Republican Party, could seriously change in the next 6 months. Just saying.
I'm waiting for that fever to break. I'm waiting for it.
I've been waiting a long time, man. 844-967-2789. But someone like Rebecca Clayfish, if that starts happening, she could pull them away from that, and run as a non-Trumper Republican. Profane Ronnie, you are up with Batman Matt Rothschild. Welcome, Ronnie. What do you got for us today?
Hey, guys. So I have a friend from high school. He was a year ahead of me, who is a super Trumper. We're Facebook friends. And I mean, he's just Trump. And he got an award last year for knocking on more doors in Waukesha County than anybody else.
Wow.
And he was always front and center. Yeah, he was always front and center at all the rallies, blah, 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 stop the steal. And a couple minutes ago, I found out that he was one of the two guys that filed that lawsuit. It's Rich Tom. I know that guy. Oh, my God. I can't believe he filed a lawsuit. Give me a break.
Well, it's easy to file a lawsuit when someone else funds the lawsuit. Let's call it the Bradley Foundation through the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. He's just the straw man.
He's the conduit, Ronnie. Well, good to know. Imagine
Ronnie
some partisans involved.
Ronnie knows the Manchurian Candidate.
Thanks for the call, Ronnie. Have a great day. Pizza Box Mike, you will have the last word with Matt Rothschild.
Matt, I'm not so sure about Evers. I was just in the truck stop, and on the wall it said, for a good time, call Tony Evers. So, maybe some of the states having a good time. I don't know. But I really do believe that we need to fuel the feud that's going on in the Republican Party. I think I'm going to come up and start making friends with some of the other Republicans that don't like Voss. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we need you and your signs and your yelling in the Capitol, Mike. Love to see you there.
Pull the Vuvuzela out, man.
Get it out of retirement, Michael.
I'll need some denture cream for that to hold my teeth in.
You can do it, I'm sure.
Any other thoughts, Michael?
No, man, but I'm ready to blow for sure. It's time to, put up or shut up, right? It's time to whatever they say. It's time to do it.
I'm gonna take you at your word that you're ready to blow, fella. Appreciate it. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you, Matt Rothschild. Appreciate all our fine guests. They included Michael Johnson from the Boys and Girls Club of Dane County and John Nichols from The Nation. And Matt, I'm looking forward to a little road trip in the morning, going on the road again with my little buddy. He'll insist upon driving and tailgating right up to people's back bumpers.
Speed up or move over, baby.
We'll be at Shooters in La Crosse on 3rd Street. Come join us there at the big broadcast on the road tomorrow. Joe Biden looking for a farm in southwestern Wisconsin. Hopefully find some milk and some cheese and maybe a farmer's daughter for good measure. Thank you all for listening to the Devils. I take that back. Joe's moved beyond the snipping days. Thank you all for listening. Stick around. Earl Ingram is next, then Native Roots Radio, then the Herbal Aspect. Keep it locked right here on Devil Radio 92.7.
Do not go gently to that good night.
We will be back in some form.
Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
Have to beat that off?
No, inappropriate. Stop it right now.
Everybody's doing it. Hey, Joanne, I hear you have a Tech Protect plan from Community PC.
I have been having services since 2013. He provides monthly maintenance for me. He is able to attach to my computer so he can figure out what my problems are. I'm very